Chicken wings. What's up, fam? Fam jam? Welcome. Welcome. Welcome one all. Come one all. I saw this funny video on Instagram, and I think you guys should. I'm gonna botch it even talking about it. But if you guys are on Instagram, first off, follow me on there. Let's Read.official. But then go ahead and follow the various pages. One including kids doing things, and it's very entertaining watching kids do funny things, along with animals doing things, drunk people doing things, and the whole gamut of human beings just doing stuff. It's very entertaining and a great way to waste your time when I am not here to waste your time for you. Did I see the email with the story about that you dreamt of hell? I don't think I saw that one. A lot of times emails can slip by me. You get so many sometimes, but you can definitely send that again. That'd be great. Alright, so your guys' phones everything's buffering right now. I hope that's not something too crazy on my end, that I can change that out or edit something here to make it easier on you guys, because this isn't really like a high-end stream or anything like that. But as long as you can hear my voice deep within your cerebellum. Okay, good now. Playing Fortnite, watching me, that's awesome. Sometimes I look at guys like Ninja, the coolest Fortnite player of all time, and I think about what it would be like to have 100,000 people watching at one time. That would be, I think, a bit much for me. Probably more than I could handle in one get up. Henry James Delach says, Ligma, you're not gonna get me today. I've been Ligma'd many a time, and I won't be Ligma'd again. How old am I? I'm 28 years old. 28,000 years old. Where's the Buttersock cult? Where you at? Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the cult. I wish there was something like that. I know sometimes some people have like themes. Welcome to the wolf pack or things like that. I really need to edit like my emotes to kind of encourage people to become members or whatever they have here on YouTube. If you've been on Twitch, you can subscribe and get specific emotes and things. And it's like, what's his name? Lobos Jr. I watch him sometimes, and it's like, welcome to the wolf pack. But me just sitting here reading stories is what you're here for anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I always thought emotes and stuff, though they're, I guess, kind of cool, they're not like a huge incentive for me to go subscribe to a streaming channel or anything like that. Shannon. She just Shannon by herself donated. Love your vids, you're awesome. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate the one. And Miss Peachable here with the $5. No message included, but Miss Peachable, if you have a particular story, whether it's true or paranormal, let me scoot that. Let me go to my editor here and just scoot this thing over so we can see that a little bit better. But yeah, guys, if you do donate, try to specify whether you'd like to hear a true story or paranormal, because that's kind of the stories I stick to, unless there's something hyper specific that you'd like. But like I said, I can't guarantee you a story I can't guarantee a story that's something. People request deep web stuff. I almost can guarantee I'm not going to be able to find a deep web, unfortunately, just because those are far and few between. All right, Peachable wants to hear a paranormal story. That I can definitely handle for you. And that'll kick off the stream here, which would be great. So my fiance's father passed last year in November, and since then, we moved into a new apartment. We've been encountering a whole bunch of random stuff that no one can explain. We have always just laughed it off with, "It's probably your dad." But now, today, I was going to call my mom, and I went to my contacts on my phone, and in my starred number list, which I, by the way, never have had because I don't use that setting, was my fiance's dad's number, with his first name as contact. I got goosebumps and asked my fiance if he for some reason would have put in his late father's phone number in my phone, and he asked me, "No, I don't even remember his phone number anymore." Side note, he had a very severe case of dyslexia and struggles a lot with numbers. I remember the first few numbers of the phone number, and I am 100% sure that it actually is the real number. And I also remember that it already was canceled, so I tried calling it, and as I thought, the number was closed. I am convinced that my fiancé never would put his dad's number in my phone to prank me or whatever, but does someone have some kind of explanation how my soon-to-be husband's dead father's number ended up as a starred contact on my phone? Hard to tell. That was a short one. Hey Quad Draco, you're saying email fool, but unfortunately you might be emailing the wrong thing, homie. Be sure you got the right thing. It's let's read submissions at gmail.com. And that is not a jujitsu email. That is a place where you submit stories. So I did not get yours, I'm sorry. There it is, found it. Alright. When I came to, I was standing in a void with 1,000 other people, all shoulder to shoulder with no room to breathe. The air was hot and stale. Nobody moved. I took a deep breath and glanced around me. A cavernous ceiling encompassed us, a rocky ledge pressed up on our feet. I stood on tiptoes to get a better view. Wait, not 1,000 people, more like 1,000,000. They went on for miles and miles on all sides. For several seconds I could only stare. I heard it before I saw it. Decomposing. A strange buzzing filled my ears as the people around me collapsed, moaning, groaning, and foaming at the mouth. Eventually, all that remained were the broken skulls, along with the flies and hornets crawling inside and out. Back and forth, in and out. I stood alone, nostalgic and lonely. Well, you made it. I turned to face him. A bald head, Arabic beard. He was busy playing backgammon with an invisible opponent. Made it where? Where do you think? He picked up a white button and gently placed it with a black one. I felt something sink deep far inside me. My very soul turned dark and churned a bit before settling out. Fuck. Yeah, I knew where I was. You didn't believe in this place, did you? He breathed with the slightest of smiles. No, sir. It was getting hotter. He laughed. You didn't want to believe, did you? No, sir, I didn't. For the first time since waking up, I felt afraid. Terror began to sweep through my body like a wildfire. I was losing it. I fought to compose myself. You really had me fooled, you know. I was almost positive that none of this was real, I said shakily. He smiled and nodded knowingly. I continued. They say the greatest trick you ever pulled was convincing the world you don't exist. The smile slowly faded. No, the greatest trick I ever pulled was convincing the world that there was an alternative. I paused and shivered. You mean there's no God? The devil began to chuckle. His laughter increased in intensity until it deafened my ears. Then he spoke, and boom, crushed my thoughts into 1,000 fragmented shards. The cavern walls shook. His words were roared beyond my comprehension, each syllable a meaningless cacophony. I jerked awake, screaming and clutching at my eardrums. Just a dream. It was just a dream. Several minutes passed as I sat in my bed, breathing heavily and sweating profusely. Then I heard again the devil's last words, this time softly whispered in my ear. I am God. All right. That was a good one. Yeah, that'd be a terrifying dream to have. And have any of you guys had dreams similar to that before, where you've kind of seen the other side? Is terrifying, but thank you for that submission. Brenda Golden with 10 big ones here says, "Hey there, let's read. How about a paranormal story? Thanks for another live stream." Absolutely. Just get these jotted down. And then Simon Son Panaccio, I don't know if I pronounced that right, had donated. Says it's about $7. Okay, that's a good conversion there. I can never tell with the various currencies. A glitch in the Matrix story if possible. If not, hit me with the true story. All right. Simon, thank you so much for your donation. Glitch in Matrix or true story. And then Qasim Kales, Yosemite National Park, true story please, or road trip. Okay. We'll see what we can find. That's very hyper specific in the world of spooks and stories. So Yosemite National Park or road trip. I like those topics. Those are pretty sweet. All right, so let's get into another paranormal one here for our friend Brenda. This occurred on Halloween's Eve, or Hallows Eve, around 8 to 9 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. Being a firm believer in the paranormal, I can safely say this was one of the most psychologically damaging experiences of my life, but at the same time one of the most addicting. My dad said that he and his former girlfriend went to an abandoned, unnamed graveyard in a remote part of South Carolina. The locals call it witches and warlocks due to the 1600s to 1700 graves. The area just in front of it is a very old farm that's now private property in which a well was used to drown slaves. Long story short, my dad and his girlfriend heard noises while traversing the graves, catching them on his night camera. He said it sounded like sizzling coming from the trees, but the closest thing that could have made that noise was a good 12 miles away. The sound was getting louder until Dad and his girlfriend drove away from the place in a panic. Fast forward 19 years later, my dad and I were driving to the same areas he had told me the story about, the well. Unfortunately, I couldn't see it due to the darkness. After being scared by a black dog and driving deeper into the old abandoned woods, I began to feel a sense of anticipation. I gazed out into the dimly lit treetops, the gently paved dirt road, and even among the square fences that, beyond it, housed the field with the well. I remember seeing something like... what is that word? Pareidolia? I'm going to look that up real quick. I've never heard that word. Pareidolia. Eventually here.
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. The tendency to perceive a specific, often meaningful image in a random or ambiguous visual pattern. Oh, I see. Kind of like when people look at Mars and see like a face on Mars or something like that. All right, Leanne with the 9.99 donation. With all the evils and monsters in the world, I would like to hear there are angels around. Angel encounter stories, please. Absolutely, I think that might be possible. Hard to come across them, but Eric Lane says, "Remember me? How's the search for my girlfriend going?" Hey, I think we're doing better. We've got a large list we've been compiling of potential suitors, and they're all right here in chat at this exact moment. Aaron McGarry with the $5. Thank you so much for that. Would you give my paranormal team, Code 3 Paranormal, a shout out? I know lots of people here like paranormal, so people check us out. You're my fave, as always. All right, that's awesome. Paranormal Code 3 Paranormal. Do you have a YouTube channel that people could check out, or potentially a website? Definitely hit us up and down below and let us know. That would be sweet. I always love paranormal teams. They make some great content and also some pretty entertaining stuff. So thank you so much, Aaron, for the 5. Right,
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia, we have determined. All right. Fast forward 19 years later, my dad and I were driving to the same area as he had told me the story about the well. Unfortunately, I couldn't see it due to the darkness. After being scared by a black dog and driving deeper into the old abandoned woods, I began to feel a sense of anticipation. I gazed out into the dimly lit treetops, the gently paved dirt road, and even among the square fences that, beyond it, housed the field with a well. I remember seeing something like pareidolia, or of hanged bodies, even seeing faces in the tall grass. I didn't really think of it that much at the time. My dad explained that the deeper you go into the forest, the creepier it gets, and he wasn't kidding. The anticipation was increasing by the minute. We were at the end of the forest, and the abandoned shed of the farm was still visible, and at the corner of my eye I could see the tips of unmarked graves in the tall crabgrass. Feeling excited now, I gazed into the darkening graveyard through my open window. I blinked once and saw something hovering over the grave. It looked so reminiscent of a floating white dress with puffy sleeves and a fading hem. I could just barely see a faint scene of white arms poking through the sleeves, and to this day, the image is burned into my head like a photo. A sickening feeling suddenly destroyed my excitement. I felt like throwing up so badly. I started begging for my dad to leave the area. I felt like I shouldn't have gone there. I panicked and told my dad about the dress I saw. He brushed it off as a smudge on the window, but the window was down. Our flashlights gleamed across the dead grass, hoping to find something else. I felt like crying, and I begged my dad to drive back. I wanted him to go back to the place to have me see the dress once again. I have to go back. I have to go back and see it again, I cried, feeling the nausea rising up in my throat. My dad snickered and said that it was probably what I ate, but this wasn't that kind of nausea. This was the kind from fear. Cold fear crawling on my skin, and my blood was frozen. As I shined a flashlight toward the grave, I saw no dresses, nobody. It was here. The dress was right here. I pointed to the top of a roughly 3-foot-tall grave. Breathing heavily and fast, my chest was tightening as more fear went up my spine. I have never felt something like that. I felt hopeless. But now I'm addicted to going back to that place. I wanted to see the dress again. Maybe this Hallows Eve will get another sight of the place. I'm afraid of going back, but at the same time, I'm addicted to it. All right. That was an interesting story. That was pretty cool. Well, thank you, Brenda, for the donation, and I hope you enjoyed that story. Simon would like to hear a glitch in the Matrix story. We have not heard one of them's in quite some time. Glitch in the Matrix. Cashy P here with the $20. Can you read an occult story focused on black magic or devil worship? We're all ready to get murrayed. Murrayed. You will get murrayed. Hard and fast. A swift murraying for my lady Cashy, or my friend Cashy, sorry. Don't want to get too specific with genders or out of fear of not knowing them. Alright, so that was a occult story for Mr. Cashy. I actually feel bad that I don't know that. That sounds bad. And it's hard for me to see in the picture in the profile. It looks like it's like a K-pop artist, unless that actually is yourself, which you should be in a K-pop band. That would be okay. I'm finished. I'm a girl. Okay, I'm sorry, Cashy. I feel bad. I now will log that away in my noggin now. Okay, up next time in Glitch in the Matrix. A bit of backstory. I met my wife in 2000 and at the time I had a full beard. 2 years later we were joking how she'd never seen me without a beard, and so one day while she was at work I shaved it off. Her reaction was, well, a bit freaked out. For the previous 2 years she saw me as one person, but when she looked at me then, it was as if though she was staring at a stranger. After that she made me promise never to shave it off again. Now fast forward to last week and she's going through some old pics on Facebook and comes across a photo of me perfectly clean shaved. At first I assumed it was from 2002, but when we examined the pic, it was from the house that we are living in now. We've only lived here since 2013, which made absolutely no sense. We knew when the pic was taken, as it was in our bedroom and displayed our bed being on the opposite side of the room, which we haven't had in it that way since then, with some paintings on the wall that we no longer have up anymore. They were replaced with my wife's She-Ra collection on a display I made for her in 2013. Now, neither of us remember me shaving in 2013, but more than that, my wife is adamant that she would never have agreed to me shaving off my beard, not since the event of 2002, which she seriously looked at me and treated me strangely for a week as it grew out. Here's the kicker. We have a roommate that we've been renting a room to since 2008. She's lived with us as at our old home in a different city and moved with us to our new home in 2013, so there's no gap in time since she's known us. She has no recollection of me having ever shaved either. The interesting part in all of this is that we have a running joke about me shaving off my beard if she ever makes me angry. It's a mocking threat, like, for example, once when she said she wanted to dye her hair red, it's black, and I said that if she did, I would shave off my beard in retaliation. I never have, however, which I can say with 100% certainty. Another part of the joke is that she says that she'll leave me if I ever shave it off, so you can see how serious my facial hair is to us. Long story short, haven't shaved in 16 years, and found a picture from 5 years ago of me clean shaven that nobody remembers. My God. Maybe they CGI'd it out, kind of like in the Superman and the Justice League movie when they did a CGI'd out his mustache since he was going to be in some new cowboy-esque movie or something like that. That could be a potential possibility, so we're going to have to make sure we let him know. Eric Lane with the $5 says, "Can you read my love life story?" Joking. I'm just here for the support. Don't stop, bro. Sorry for interrupting. No worries. No interruption there. Thank you so much, Eric. We will get you a girlfriend by the time you have donated $1 million. By that point, I think the girls will know how much is just sitting in the bank account, and they'll just be flocking to you by that. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it, and I do wish you well for your love life. I think we all need a little assistance with that here and there. Just someone to snuggle up to and say, "Sup? What's up?" Cashy, I just watched Mission Impossible, the movie. Henry C., a.k.a. Superman, was in my... Oh, okay, my fucking God, he is such a daddy. He really is. He's a cool guy, too. Pretty chill in his interviews. He has a weird sense of humor, and I remember hearing on, I think he was on Conan or one of the late night talk shows, when he found out that he got the role as Superman, he was at home playing World of Warcraft, which I just thought was really funny for like a super, you know, Tommy Hilfiger model type super jack dude to just be chilling at home playing WoW. But that game's like pretty much people's religion. So if you've been playing it since 2004, you probably still do, especially with the new expansion out. So wait, Kaylin? What am I ignoring? I apologize. I truly am not trying to ignore anything here. I have an issue with pronouncing surnames. Yeah, if I haven't seen it in my day-to-day life, Tommy Hill Figer? Is that it? Tommy Hill Figer? Tommy Hill Figure? Tommy Hill Figure? Chloe, is it Russo? Is it Chloe Russo? I am sorry. You're gonna have to like give me the dictionary enunciation of all of that here, otherwise I'm not gonna get it right ever. Alright. So Simon, thanks for the request for the Glitch in the Matrix story. Qasim, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Would like to hear a national park, Yosemite National Park. That is very specific, but I think we might be able to find something. Eric with the $2. $1 million? Okay, I have your word. We can guarantee it by. Sammy Norris says Tommy Hilfiger. I honestly think that's how you pronounce it. Hilfiger. Qasim Kale says no, it's wrong. All right. I'm just going to, at this point, I think it's just going to be a meme that I can't pronounce anything correctly at all. I'm going to be like that creepy guy who opens up gummy worms. Things like that. Oh, another one here. And another one. Another name I can't pronounce, but I will try my best, and please correct me. Riney Sasori with the $5. Welcome to Zack Saber Time. Do a true Japanese horror story. Yondir. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I like that. I always enjoy those. What's his name? I haven't seen him in a while. What the hell is his name? Lazy Masquerade. He was the man who brought Yondir stories into the limelight. He's probably my sorry if I'm screaming. He's probably my favorite narrator, I think. I don't know. I really enjoy his voice. His accent is on point. Peachable. Can someone explain butter socks to Peachable? Because I honestly think I've lost touch with how it even started. It's so many streams ago now that pretty much the second if you join the stream, you are a part of the butter sock cult, and there's no escaping. Yosemite National Park. This one could be good. Cashy broke a nail. No! No! Excuse me. At the end of May 1999, I was headed into freshman year of high school. That summer, me and a group of 6 girls from my church went on a mission trip up the coast of Riverside, California, to Mount St. Helens, Washington. 3 of the girls' mothers acted as our drivers and chaperones. We basically all piled into an old Chevy van and a station wagon, headed to PCH, and had the trip of a lifetime. I got baptized at a historic mission in San Luis Obispo. We spent 3 days in San Francisco, saw the capital, Portland, Oregon, Yosemite. Basically, we got to see every worthy landmark and stay in every noteworthy town from SoCal to the Canadian border. When we stayed in Yosemite National Park, we spent 3 nights at the Cedar Lodge. While in Yosemite and sightseeing, the old Chevy van died in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, even though we were unable to get a cell signal within an hour, somebody stopped and helped us. This was so long ago I don't remember all the details, but basically the owner of the van told us later that the mechanic told her that somebody tampered with the engine. She was very upset by this and said that it was something was done intentionally. The van had to be abandoned and we had to use rental the rest of the way. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but turns out that Carrie Anthony Stainer, aka the Yosemite Killer, was the maintenance man for the Cedar Lodge during this time. He had murdered and decapitated a park ranger by the time we were guests at the lodge. The very next month, he gained access to a room where a woman and her young daughter and her daughter's young friend were staying under the guise of checking the room for something. Basically, he knocked on the door in the middle of the night because he worked for the lodge. They opened the door. He abducted them, then murdered and decapitated them. I can't say that I remember seeing him, but we probably did, as we were there for 3 nights, and it's just one of those things that I look back on and think he could have easily knocked on one of our doors, as it was just a few weeks before, and decided he wanted to abduct and kill us. I feel incredibly lucky, like I dodged a bullet. If the time frame wasn't so close, it wouldn't creep me out as much, but it continues to haunt me 16 years later. Jesus, that's scary as hell. Makes me, never want to open up my hotel room door late at night if anybody comes a-knocking. Love the story. Much love from the Netherlands. Much love to you. It's good to see my voice is reaching many locations across the world. Oh yeah, guys, and if there's some comments, I just want you to know that I probably won't be able to, read the story and read your comments at the same time, so if I miss you on something that you feel is important, I apologize, just because you get kind of pulled into the story and, don't want to interrupt it too much there, but we'll obviously get to you at any time. Would I sing for Kaylin? I cannot sing. I literally cannot sing. I can do a little bit of, what's that called? Nightmare Before Christmas? And then it's pretty much just me doing the voice of Jack Skellington or something terrible, but I am bad. I've tried to sing, I'm tone deaf, and maybe I can hold a slight, deep, bullshit voice, something to climb into your ears. But at that point, it's like I can't, it's like a weird opera thing, but if I have to sing along with a song, even a rap song, I'll get made fun of because it's embarrassing how unbelievably bad it is. Hugh Jackman, huge jacked man, is a beast among men. You want me to rap? Cashy wants me to rap. Okay, get ready for this one. Coming straight at you, going in your cleft chun. No, we won't be doing that. Re-fucking-latable. Vannikins, what's up? It's good to see you here. Thanks for joining. Hugh Jackman is your father, Vanessa. Tell him I said what's up. I love The Fountain. The Fountain is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think he did a fantastic bang-up job. All right. So we're looking for an angel story here. The likelihood of that occurring, it seems like people have more experience with demons than anything. But maybe this one. Just to put this out there, my grandpa is a no bullshit type of guy to the bone. Total meat and potato, no mumbo jumbo gossip entertainer, so when he first told me this story, I almost couldn't believe it was coming out of his mouth. When he was a young boy, about 10 or 11, him and his friends would go looking for agates or other cool rocks around town. But they always found the best ones at the train station. They often had big train cars full of gravel sitting around waiting to be transported, and being the little shits that young boys can be, were always climbing on top and digging around. One day they were on top, showing each other their finds, when the train worker came by and opened the chute below the cart, sucking my grandpa and his friends in like quicksand. They screamed, and the man below realized what was happening and went to the chute to try and catch them. He did, and ended up grabbing the other boy, but not my grandpa. He said he almost had one leg out, but it all happened too fast and he was sucked in. He opened his eyes to darkness, but he wasn't at all afraid. He told me he felt safe and peaceful. It's just like they say, were his exact words. He turned around and saw a light, and for whatever reason, he started walking towards it. He was scared. His body moved like it knew what it was supposed to do. He said the light would get bigger, brighter with every step he took. Out of the edges of the dark, 6 women, 3 of each on each side, came to him and told him to turn around. "It's not your time, Jerry. You need to go home. Turn around, Jerry." But he kept walking as if his body couldn't stop. He was confused. He wanted to go to the light. He was drawn to it. Finally, he stopped and looked at them, and they all said one more time, "You aren't ready." And with that, he turned his shoulders to leave. He instantly gasped and opened his eyes to see his friend and the train worker standing above him. "Jesus Christ, Jerry, are you okay? Hey, kid, are you okay? Stay seated, people are coming." Their voices filled his ears with worry and panic. Come to find out, my grandpa had been unresponsive and not breathing when they finally pulled him out of the rubble. The man did CPR on him until he came to. My grandpa is now 73 years old, but his life could have come to an end much sooner. Like I said before, my grandfather has never been one to bullshit, nor is he a super religious person, but I can promise you he will never forget the moment he met his guardian angels. That's pretty cool. Go towards the light, Jerry. Go towards the light. Thank you, Leanne, for your donation. I hope you enjoyed that story. Cashy wants to hear an occult story, and I like the sound of that. Spooky, spooky skeletons. Occult stories coming your way. Misadventure in Magic and Spirit Contact. That could be interesting. What follows is an account of an experience I had when I first decided to try using some energy magic I learned to make and then strengthen contact with a ghost. I was around 24 and an overnight security guard at an old hotel about half a decade ago. I was freshly out of college and had recently made friends with a Reiki master. After some work with her, I had been convinced that she was the real deal. She was able to do some things that I still can't explain, except to say that she could honestly manipulate energy. She wasn't just into Reiki, of course. No one I've ever met is, being engrossed in the Akashic records and old magic. Through her interest in me and my energy and background, she became aware that I had experienced what I cringe to describe as a psychic awakening a couple of years prior, during which I was able to do some pretty incredible things that several other people experienced with me. These things included instances of dreamwalking. I guess that's what you call it when you invade other people's dreams. It was not astral projection because I myself was awake and rooted to my spot, and being able to read what people were thinking about off the tops of their heads. This scared me so much that I took steps to close the door, as it were, and I hadn't attempted anything like that in a long time. The Reiki master didn't hear this story until she commented that my third eye was locked tight and continually being fed energy in order to stay that way, though it wasn't impossible for things to leak through. Go figure, some religious people use energy manipulation because that's where I turned for help with the initial problem. She gave me some crystals for focus and protection with some simple instructions involving sigil drawing, things I associate with a form of chaos magic now that I'm older and have some more knowledge, just rooted in a specific mysticism from which the practitioner came. She shared a lot more with me before we parted ways, but those are the relevant details. Flash forward to one night in the hotel. I'm eating dinner by the closed for the night indoor pool. I see something out of the corner of my eye. I can only describe it as a color disturbance, like the way that something distorts its surroundings, but with some kind of color distortion as well, and indeed I thought at first it was stream or something from the pool, but it was moving around it and kind of fading in and out. I was curious, so I opened my mind as best as I could and tried to pick something up. I wasn't getting much, so another thought occurs to me. Let's try some rudimentary Reiki. I learned to will this thing some energy. I won't go into the process, but 3 or so minutes later my arm wouldn't get warm again, and I'm picking things up from this thing. It's a Native American spirit. It died as a person in the woods hundreds of years ago. At this point I can see color distortion, and it's got something of a shape. I also start to panic because I'm realizing I'm not getting this thing to break with my energy, and it's still trying to take more. Writing all of this out now, it feels silly, but in the moment, I knew all of what I'm describing was happening. It's hard to explain how I knew, but I knew. So I do the only thing I can think of to break this thing from me and fix the situation. I take a crystal I was given, which I had been carrying in my work bag, having not bothered to remove it, and formed a sigil I was taught for energy focus, and then made a new one which I meant to isolate the spirit. Then I did what little energy work techniques I knew to guide the spirit into the stone. I could see the stone take on the weird light properties I had seen next to the pool. Then I made a closure mark over the focus sigil I used, and that was that. I felt like it was done. I kept the stone for a few days, made a call to the Reiki master, and after some scolding was told to do the totally tropey go to the light and peace prayer and reverse the sigil used to seal it in. God, this just keeps sounding more and more crazy. Anyway, it worked. The stone stopped looking and feeling weird, and I felt like whatever it was gone. It hadn't felt malicious or parasitic apart from what I blundered to attach it to me, and I haven't tried anything relating to necromancy since. I was listening to a podcast earlier tonight, and it made me feel like there are people out there who wouldn't think this is ridiculous, so I decided to actually share it for the first time. Enjoy, and never play with magic and ghosts at the same time. Are you guys singing Mamba number 5? I never want to hear you say I want it that way. Tell me why. All right. Thank you, Kashi, for your request. That was a great one, and I hope that delved into the occult a little bit. I've never really followed stuff with Reiki before, so I don't really understand it. I mean, I've heard about crystals and energy and stuff like that, but maybe there's got to be like a book or something that can kind of define all that. Sony W with 30 big ones here says, "Hey there, love your channel. Can we have a Let's Not Meet Stalker story?" Well, you absolutely can. Thank you so much for the big 30. That was awesome of you. Stalker. And Blinker 002 with 10 big ones says, "Can I get a true urban exploration story?" Absolutely. Backstreet Boys. Backstreet Boys are back. We're the Backstreet Boys and we are back. Yeah. Is that it? Is that what we're talking about? Who's my favorite Pokemon? Now that's a question I can get down with. I like Dragonite. Just because I remember in I think the second movie or something like that. Maybe it was the first one. He's a mail carrier. And I just like that you can ride him everywhere. Alright. So we have a request here for a Yandere story, or I suppose sort of a Japanese style stalker. Okay. Favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monster? I never watched Yu-Gi-Oh growing up. It was I'm sure it was good. I watched a lot of Pokemon and was just like full into the Pokemon cards and games and all that kind of stuff. And I always felt like Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of derived way too much from that series and didn't really like generate. It almost seemed like it was just kind of like a huge cash grab, which I mean I'm sure all of it is, but it never resonated with me as a wee lad. I, 25 female, have been living in Japan for a few years now, and one thing I have quite often are stalker encounters. It seems that in my area, or anywhere that isn't a big city, now that I think about it, Japanese men can come to be quite obsessed with foreign women, especially fair-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed foreign women such as myself. I've dealt with quite a few situations where I was sure I would be kidnapped. One such encounter was back in 2013 when I was in my third year of university. The following is a brief encounter, but a terrifying one nonetheless. I was staying abroad at a school in Saitama, making a lot of friends and having the time of my life. I joined the a cappella club and had a group that I sang with. Together there were 5 of us. They were all men, which made me uncomfortable at first, but we blended well together, and they felt more comfortable singing English songs with me there to help with pronunciation and whatnot. One day, after practice was finished, my group invited me to go shopping with them at a local supermarket to get things for a Nabi party. For those who don't know, Nabi, pronounced Nabe party, is basically a hot pot. You get a bunch of veggies and some meat, then you put a big pot on a little portable gas burner, and everyone gathers around and eats together. It's a huge part of Japanese culture and a great way to hang out with friends. I was ecstatic that they invited me. I was usually left out of these kinds of things at first because I was an outsider, whereas they had known each other since their freshman year. Over the few months that we had been singing together, though, they'd grown to be like a family to me, each one like an overprotective big brother, especially a guy named Katsuke. He was tall and a bit on the heavy side, but he was extremely charismatic. Whenever he saw me fumbling around, nervous or confused, he'd quickly appear by my side and throw a heavy arm around my shoulder, practically knocking me over while asking, "What's the problem, Tani-chan?" Anyway, the Nabe party. We all went to our friend's house for the party and ended up drinking and talking until pretty late. When my phone in my pocket vibrated to tell me I had low battery, I finally saw the time and realized it was already 4 a.m. The guys were getting ready to nap until the train started back up, but I was only a 30-minute walk away from my share house. I announced that I was leaving and sort of packing up my stuff. Katsuke offered to walk me home, but I told him I was fine. The sun would be rising soon. Japan has an early sunrise, and it really wasn't that far. The cold would kill me before the walk did, I joked. They reluctantly agreed and saw me off, demanding I call them if anything happened. I made it to the station safely, marking the halfway point home. I descended the stairs to see a single car parked outside with a man leaning up against it, staring straight at me. It wasn't anyone I knew. He was older than me, in his mid-30s, maybe early 40s. His head turned, watching me as I walked down the stairs. Feeling uncomfortable with the unwanted attention, I rushed my pace a little, rubbing my hands together to fight the sudden chill that overcame me, though I was pretty sure it had nothing to do with the cold. I crossed to the other side of the street, avoiding him as best as I could. I avoided looking at him as well, but I heard the car door slam and the engine start up. Headlights illuminated me, and he turned to drive alongside where I was walking. His window rolled down. "Hey," he said in Japanese. "Are you alone?" I said nothing. "Where are you going? Do you speak Japanese?" I quickened my pace. "You're pretty. Let's hang out." I began power walking. The sluggish tiredness from the party was quickly being replaced with adrenaline. He pulled ahead, and I thought he gave up, but his car stopped not far ahead, and he put in a park, getting out. "Let's go home together." He was standing about 10 feet ahead of me. I stopped so I wasn't walking closer to him. "Let's go home together," he repeated a little more forcefully, stepping toward me. "Get in my car." I didn't have much time to think. I immediately turned left and sprinted into the park. There were only 4 entrances, all of which a car could not enter. It was a traditional Japanese-style garden with tall bamboo trees and a pond of koi surrounding a gazebo in the middle. The man was in a no parking zone, so he wouldn't leave his car alone. I heard him curse under his breath and jump back into the car. I pulled out my phone, immediately calling Katsuke. Just my luck, though. He didn't answer. I tried the rest of my group. No one answered. I looked at the next exit just in time to see his car crawl by slowly, his head sticking out the window, searching for me as I hid behind a grove of bamboo. Trembling in fear, I tried again and again with no success to reach the guys. I looked repeatedly at my 4 exits, always seeing him crawl by. He was circling the park, waiting for me to walk out so he could talk to me again, though I had a feeling talking wasn't really what he wanted to do. Just as I was about to cry, my phone lit up dimly with a phone call from Katsuke. "What's the problem, Tani-chan?" he said jokingly. The other guys in the background were still joking around. In a rush of breath, I explained to him my current predicament, though he didn't say a word the entire time. I could practically hear the smile leave his face. The rest of the group had quieted too, and I heard one say, "What's going on? Is she okay?" He told me to stay where I was and that he was on his way, but I was already 20 minutes away and I wasn't sure if I had 20 minutes before the guy parked his car and came into the park to look for me. I looked behind me again just in time to see him drive by that exit slowly, looking through. That's it. I'm cold, I'm tired, I'm scared, I want to go home. I'm going to run after he passes the next exit and turn the corner, I explained. "No," he said. "Wait for me. I can run and be there soon." But Katsuki wasn't a runner. I didn't think he would get there any faster than I could. He started to say something more, but my phone suddenly went dark. Dead battery. No turning back now. I waited a few seconds and there he was, right on schedule. He crawled by the exit, then stopped. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it, but he looked hard and slowly around. The sun was starting to come up now, and he had a better view. It really was now or never. He slowly moved forward. I crept out of my hiding spot and moved toward the exit. I poked my head out and saw him turn the corner. I sprinted towards my house and didn't look back. I was too scared to. I don't know if he saw me and I was too fast to follow or what, but I didn't ever see the guy again. I immediately put my phone on the charger and called the guys back to let them know I was okay, but Katsuke never let me walk home alone in the dark again. Katsuke! Beautiful Nightmare with 20 biggins. I don't have a story to request, just showing support. Thank you, Beautiful Nightmare. I hope your day is going well. And I do really appreciate that 20. That is very kind of you, honestly. And if you do have a request to keep the stream rolling on, feel free to let one of the mods know or at me, and hopefully one of us will see it and let me know. But thank you for that request for a Japanese stalker story. Sony PlayStation 4 had requested a Let's Not Meet stalker story, which, as I know, are many of your favorites. Chloe, I'm not going to even pronounce the last name, but good night. It was good seeing you here. I hope you have a good sleep. All right. Yeah, I kind of want to see that Mission Impossible now because of that. Do I prefer gummy bears or worms? Shoot, that's a good question. I would say worms probably. There's some sort of kinesthetic sensation that I get from biting into worms compared to a gummy bear. I feel like gummy bears are kind of hard to chew. I guess it depends on how big they are. Sorry, got distracted there for a second. All right, so once again, Mr. Eric Lane with the 2. Open marriage proposal for any lady in chat. There you go, guys. That's a new age marriage right there. He's giving you lots of wiggle room. And he's on his way to $1 million donation total right now. So can we please show some love for Eric? Just one steak dinner is all it takes to change your life. That's all it took for me when I met Eric. All right, so do 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 do. This one sounds pretty scurry. Gabriel Castaneda. She says she volunteers as tribute. There you go, guys. They're lined up and ready to go. You know what to do. You know what to do! Do 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 do. Right after I graduated high school, I went to our community college where my best friend at the time and her boyfriend also attended, along with a lot of friends who I became acquainted with as well. Fast forward to Halloween of 2010, we took my best friend's little sister and brother out trick-or-treating, where her boyfriend ended up joining us. We were towards the end of the route when one of their friends from the college ended up joining us, which I didn't think anything about at the time, other than he gave me weird vibes. Should have been my first clue. After we were done trick-or-treating, we brought the kids home to go to bed, but my friends wanted to go do something to keep the night going. You know, since it was Halloween and in a college town, that's an excuse to party just like any other day. They decided on going downtown, but I declined since I wasn't feeling well, which was true, but I was also the only one with a car and didn't want to be the chauffeur, and went home. A few hours later, I was in bed reading a book. I still live with my mom and my brother, and my phone lit up from a number I didn't recognize. It was the friend that joined us while trick-or-treating. He explained that he got my number from my best friend's boyfriend, and he was concerned that I didn't feel well and insisted on bringing me soup to feel better. Some sort of red flag went off in my head, and I didn't want this guy to know where I lived, so I said no. My mom was taking care of it, but thank you anyway. He got a little pushy, but eventually backed down and proceeded to send me many texts about how much fun he had when we were out and blah blah blah. I later found out he bailed going downtown too because he only wanted to go with me. He then added me to Facebook, went through all of my pictures and liked all of them. Second red flag. Being the naive 18-year-old I was, I just thought maybe he was being overly friendly and is just a little weird, so I didn't avoid him or anything at school, since we hung out with the same people. One day, when we didn't have school, he texted me asking if I wanted to go to lunch. I should have said no and accepted, thinking I was getting a free meal out of the deal since he insisted on paying and it would be a quick visit. We met at the restaurant and sat down and talked and ate. It was super awkward, and then I stupidly mentioned I wanted to go to the mall to get some stuff. He insisted on driving me there and that his mom can move to the back seat. Wait, what? Apparently he drove his mom's minivan, brought her with him, and left her in the car while we went out on our date. I kept saying that she should come in and join us, and he got really weird about it and said she was napping and she didn't mind waiting. At that point, I started getting very uncomfortable. Luckily, we were done with our food, and I said I needed to leave, thanked him for the food, and got up to go. He kept saying he'll meet me at the mall, and I was put in what I felt was a weird position and am not an assertive person, so I reluctantly said okay. We met at a large store connected to the mall, and I mentioned how I was here to look for a new scarf and started browsing. He picked out the most expensive one he could find and bought it for me, and basically almost threatened me not to return it. It was then I wanted to be left alone, so I said thank you, and I was going to go home now. He insisted on walking me out to my car. We were parked on opposite ends of the mall, and his mom was still in the van, and I kept saying it was okay, I was fine. He was a big guy, and even simple walking caused him to break out into sweat, but he wouldn't take no for an answer, so away we went. We passed by another and took a quick peek inside. There were a pair of boots that I very quickly in passing mentioned that were cute, but I don't know if I'd wear them. He bought them for me and did the same somewhat threat not to return them because they were gifts and you don't return gifts. Like, dude, then what are gift receipts for? At that point, I got a little firm and told him I wanted time alone, so please don't walk me out to my car. He accepted and went his merry way, clearly happy that he had made those purchases to show that he liked me. I got out to my car and waited for probably about 20 minutes. I knew what his van looked like at this point and kept my eye out for it in case he was going to follow me home, but didn't see anything. I actually ended up going back to the mall and returned the boots and scarf. In reality, I didn't want either of them, and I was way too uncomfortable accepting those gifts from a strange person. I don't like owing people, and I had a feeling he was going to use that as some sort of leverage to get something from me. I took the long way home to make sure I wasn't being followed and told my mom about what happened. She was concerned and thought it was strange as well, since he and I didn't really know each other, and it seemed like a weird act of desperation. I got a text from him a few hours later saying he hoped I liked his gifts. I responded saying that I returned them because I wasn't comfortable with it, and he lost it. My phone kept lighting up with tons of texts. This was before it was easy to block someone, and I didn't know how to do it. The old flip phone. And he was livid that I did such a disrespectful thing. I should be thankful to get those things from me. So, I got angry and told him I didn't ask for him for the gifts. He basically threatened me to keep them, and he didn't take no for an answer when I told him I didn't want them. So, essentially, he was the one who disrespected me. He backed down a lot then. I told him to stop texting me and leave me alone. I got a few more texts, but eventually he stopped. It was weird at school because I kind of avoided being around my friends when I knew he was there. I still hung out with some of them alone like my best friend, but when I knew a friend gathering was going on, I wouldn't go, and they understood. Now this is where I got stupid. I'm a very, very compassionate person, and 9 times out of 10 feel horrible when I was mean to someone, even in this instance. I ended up texting the creeper one night apologizing for how rude I was to him, and he said he understood where I was coming from, and we had a normal conversation for a little bit until I fell asleep at around 11 p.m. I know this because I woke up at 2 a.m., looked at my phone, and saw the last text I sent him was a little before 11, stating I was tired. After I fell asleep, he sent me one text, saw I didn't respond, texted again, and saw I didn't respond, kept texting. We were talking on the verge of 30 to 40 texts here. Called me from his cell phone about 10 times, called me from another phone about 15 times because I thought I was ignoring him, and then sent one last threatening message. If you don't respond within half an hour, I'm calling the police. I happened to wake up at 2 a.m., which was an hour after he sent that text, and flipped the fuck out, texting him that I fell asleep and he better not have called the police. You want to know why he called the police? Because he interpreted me saying I was tired as I was tired of living. He thought I killed myself. Never mind that it was, basically bedtime when he and I were talking, so yes, me killing myself is the most logical route to take here. I ran into my mom's room, told her what happened, and she goes, "For crying out loud, they have better things to do with their time. They aren't coming to check on you." I go back into my room, which looked out to our driveway, look out the window, see a cop car parked on the street and 2 flashlights walking up the driveway. They knock on the door, opened it, and I'm pretty sure the look on my face told them everything. "You Sally?" "Yep." "You know why we're here?" "Yep." "So what happened?" "I fell asleep." The police understood and actually called the creep back and told him to leave me the fuck alone. Just as I was texting him to leave me the fuck alone, he then had the gall to ask for my address again. He had done this numerous times to come over and apologize to me and that he loved me. I told him he doesn't even know me and he had absolutely no reason to be in love with me. His reasoning was that's how he worked. He fell in love first and then decided if it was the right person or not. Dude was loony. This put a really big strain on my friendships at the college. His story was much more twisted and painted me as the bad guy, and I ended up making a lot of enemies, even with my best friend because he labeled me as a whore. There was another guy interested in me as well among those friends, but he was much less assertive and didn't give him the time of day. And everyone believed him, even though at the time I was still a virgin. I had to drop out of school because that circle of friends was so big, and whenever the creep saw me, he would get irrationally angry and his friends had to physically hold him back, which was a lot of people because he was massive. Since I cut contact with all of them and ended up going to a different school that I loved so much more, and am in a much better place without all of them in my life. I since cut contact with all of them and ended up going to a different school that I loved so much more, and am in a much better place without all of them in my life. You can see how I record sometimes. It's like I gotta really get that that finisher. You guys have probably noticed the pattern of how my voice slows down to kind of a stall, do, and then finishes. Just to kind of let people know that I am done. The Outbreak with 199 says, "I'ma keep it real with you, Chief. You're great." Thank you, Outbreak. You're great too. Thank you for the 2. I appreciate keeping it real. That's how I like to keep it. 100,000%. Sony, hope you enjoyed that story. Thank you so much for the donation. That was great. My pacing is awesome. Thank you, Kashi. Cake or pie? Wow. It really depends. I mean, pie is pretty consistently good. Cake can... how many times... There's so many times I've eaten cake and it's been dry as shit, and you have to finish your cake, you know what I mean? There's no setting the cake down, so you just eat it and you're you need an entire glass of milky to get you through it. The Outbreak again with the 199. Want another? Hey, whatever you are down with, my friend. Thank you so much for the 199. I appreciate it. Pie is life. Cake. The cake is a lie, guys. It's a big lie. If I make a cake, I want to make it borderline fudge. The densest cake you've ever had. Kashi literally thought milk only came in bags until it became a meme. Oh my god. In Canada, do they only do bag milk? That's interesting. It's like bag milk and you have to cut off the edge and just dump it all out into your bowl. Yeah, I guess we drink our milk in plastic gallons, and I don't know, what is it, paper cardboard or something like that. You need some new butter socks. Where can I get them? That would be a great idea, actual butter socks as merchandise. That would be pretty sweet. I don't know if Spreadshirt does that or not, though. Eric Lane with the $2 says, "I now realize women intimidate me." It's okay. They can be scary beasts at times, but you just have to look them in the eye and say, "For the love of God, please marry me." Doesn't matter because chat made you a Canadian. Oh yeah, we drink things from bags, boxes, trash cans, bowls, sometimes from the stream. It doesn't really matter. If it can hold liquid, we're probably going to drink out of it, you know what I mean? All right. Blinker had requested an urban an urban exploration story. I do love those. Those were the shiz. Those are the shiz. The shiz news. Oops. The Outbreak with $5 says, "Welp, I love your content and your personality so much I'm spending my money. Well, can you do a joke for me?" Okay, what's a joke? Oh my god, chat, tell me a joke, man. I'm on edge. I'm gonna look up a joke. Joke. Typing in joke?
Joke.
That's not what I wanted. Okay, corn jokes. Or corny jokes. Okay. Toronto would be cool. Okay. What did the Clydesdale give the pony? Why did the Clydesdale give the pony a glass of water? Milk. There it is. Jump scare jokes. They should make jump scare jokes where they ask you a joke and then a Five Nights at Freddy's monster just bursts through your screen. What do you call a fish without eyes? And then it just scares you. You're like, oh, that was great. Thanks, Aunt Jean, for sending that chain email. I needed that in my life. Reptilian Army says, "What a yeah." That's a reference to what's his name? Leafy. Leafy is here. Okay, guys, dude, what's even going on with this dude's like voice right now? He's like talking really close to the mic, like he's sexy or something, or like, I mean, not sexy, I mean like scary or something. Whatever, dude. He probably doesn't even have a chin. No. Leafy's a good boy. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, I guess like he got his money and he got out quick. He blew up, and I mean, I didn't find any of his content interesting because his jokes were just like kind of like the blabbering of a mentally challenged fifth grader or something like that. But he seemed like he'd probably a decent kid if you met him in real life. Outbreak with $1.99. Big thonk. I have the monies. Thank you, Outbreak. I appreciate it. Leafy was here. You are paying for my gas money right now to get out to Toronto. Wait, does he have a face reveal? I do not have a face reveal. I like the mystery of it all. All right, Blinker is first and last on my list here with an urban exploration. I got to get focused give that good boy a urban exploration story here. You're a cool guy. Do a robbery story. If you read that wrong. You're a cool guy. Do a robbery, please. Guys, lately there's been a dry spell of stories. So my goal, and what I need you guys to do too, is just go be as creepy as possible in day-to-day life. And then afterwards follow up with that person that you creeped out thoroughly and have them submit that story to good old Let's Read. I'm doing my part. Venikin's Art with $5 says convention horror story, comic, anime, furry, gamer. Oh, that'd be a really cool topic for a video. Thank you, Venikins. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Comic, anime, furry, gamer, all mixed into one good one. Kashi P with the 10 says Demon Story. Laugh my ass off. We don't want a face reveal. Chat is lying. Yeah, what if it's like whenever you see Seth MacFarlane's face. And he's not an unattractive guy or whatever, but I mean, then you see Brian, the dog, Stewie, Peter, Quagmire, and the various other characters he plays on there. And I feel, I mean, you can get over it, you know what I mean? It's not a big deal, but I feel like it kind of like, for a brief period of time, it detracts from the overall experience, or your sort of like suspension of disbelief, because that's kind of like who is going through your mind whenever you hear Brian's voice. The Outbreak again with the $2 says Xbox is better than PlayStation. PC Master Race. What's new on Xbox? I haven't even seen. I feel like PlayStation has a lot more exclusives and things like that. I could be completely wrong. I haven't played an Xbox in a while. Guys, Let's Read is telling us to stalk him. What a masochist. Guys, why do you think I got into this genre in the first place? It's because I am a Let's Not Meet. I'm a walking Let's Not Meet story right now. Alright. So this one goes out to Blinker. This happened to me and the man I was dating back in the late spring of 2000. I'm an avid and experienced urban explorer. I have visited many different abandoned sites. This place I'm writing about has been explored several times by others since, but when I visited, it wasn't a common knowledge location, and all the buildings were still intact except for the main house, which had, from what I had heard, burned, leaving nothing but the outer stone. Nothing but the outer walls remains. All the other buildings were torn down since I was there. To more recent urban explorers, it is known as the Stone Castle, and more recently, the Osler Castle. This is the name given by the Heritage Society that has decided to fix it up. When my boyfriend at the time discovered it, he saw it in the distance from a roof he was working on in Oro Mondante. There was, but not anymore, a large barn, a carriage house, and towards the back of the property a stable. The first weekend we both had off together, we made the hour drive to explore it. The property was absolutely stunning. On top of a hill back from the road, you could almost imagine living surrounded by such beauty, and we did exactly that. The house itself was gone except for the wall, and if you looked in the basement window, you could see an old stove laying amongst the wreckage. You could tell it had been a beautiful home at one time to whoever owned it. Being the explorer I was, I insisted that we investigate every single corner of every single building that was on the property, and although my ex was less than enthusiastic about it, I insisted. I honestly did not see the point of driving for an hour just to look at the outside of the building, nor had I gone in the buildings. No, I had to go in the buildings. The first buildings we explored was the barn, both upstairs and down. Down in the basement of the barn is where things went from wow to holy shit really fast. In the basement, it had been used as a place for satanic sacrifices. There was satanic artwork all over, a knife with what appeared to be blood on it, and an altar with black candles, a bottle of what smelled like blood. The most disturbing piece was that whatever satanic group was using it, they had built a makeshift cage out of the silo with chains inside and everything. My boyfriend at the time wanted to get the heck out of there as fast as possible, but I convinced him to stay so we could explore the rest of the buildings on the property. I told him it was probably just a bunch of kids just screwing around. No big deal, right? Wrong. Our next stop was the stables at the back of the property, and honestly, I was so caught up in my love for exploring that he would not have been able to persuade me to leave without going in every single building no matter what. I opened the door into the stable and the smell hit me. Rotting flesh, and the entire room was littered with animal corpses, dogs, cats, rabbits, even coyotes and foxes. They had been horribly mutilated. It was absolutely the worst thing I had ever laid eyes on. As soon as my boyfriend saw that, he grabbed me and said that we were leaving right at that moment, and that killing animals is not stupid kids doing stupid stuff. This is some serious shit. So we started to leave, but there was one more building I wanted to check on the way out of the carriage house. He said no effing way were we going there and stomped off up the hill back to the main house, assuming I would follow. I didn't follow. I went around the hill by myself and took a quick peek in the carriage house. The carriage house was anticlimactic. It had absolutely nothing in it. It's actually a good thing that I snuck off like I did, because if I hadn't, we wouldn't have seen them coming. They would have been able to sneak up on us, and we were coming up the hill and do God knows what to us. The first one I noticed was an adult male with a baseball bat. He actually had opened up our car door and was rifling through things in our car, trying to find a key, I'm guessing. There were about 8 people in the total of the group, ranging from adults, I would say, in their 30s to teenagers and children no more than 12 or 13. They all had weapons, golf clubs, sticks, and a cane and baseball bats. I yelled at the guy what the hell he thought he was doing going through our car, and my boyfriend came charging over the hill, bless his heart, right through the posse of creeps and weirdos who seemed to be lying in wait for us. It appeared that we had ruined whatever plans they had in mind, because they immediately backed off. Some even tried to hide their weapons behind their backs, which was just stupid if you ask me. Who wouldn't notice a baseball bat behind somebody's back? Baseball bat guy demanded to know what we were doing there, and demanded what the hell he thought he was doing in our car. He didn't answer, just looked at me all nervous. My ex-boyfriend said we were just admiring the architecture of the house and that we were just leaving, and they let us get into our car and drive off, and itself was a miracle. I'd say, in light of what we had discovered on the property. They followed us in a black pickup with no plates for a good 20 minutes. Instead of heading for home, we went to the closest city, which was Barrie, filed a report with a policeman who seemed more shaken than us, and headed home. My ex never went back to that roofing job again. He had someone else finish it, and he went to another one. I wanted to go back, but after telling people what happened, I couldn't find anyone to go with me. My ex and I continued various explorations, but we both started carrying knives. I still carry one to this day, even when I hike, and I have not read anyone else having similar experiences at Satan's Castle. Recently, my cousin, who is also an explorer, contacted me with a place she wanted to explore. Guess where, and guess what? We have made arrangements to go there in the next couple of weeks. So on that note, and many years later, Satan's Castle cult, let's hope we don't meet again. And to any other urban explorers out there, please be careful. You never know what you might come across in these abandoned places. So so it's Barrie, Ontario. Okay. I saw the ON and I was like, I don't recognize that acronym for whatever location that was, and I was like, it's probably Canadian, you know? But I think I've read that story before, and I feel bad. I feel bad if I repeated that during a stream. I can't remember if I read it for an actual video or not. Eric Lane says, Kaylin wants to know if you'll date her. Thank you, Eric, for the $2. Well, I think we could maybe set you two up. I feel like I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and Let's Read's kind of a matchmaker at this point. I think we can just assume. This is Let's Read's dating extravaganza live stream. Every single person in life should come to Let's Read's stream and just find their soulmate right here. Muffins or cupcakes? Now that is a tough one, honestly, because cupcakes are sweet, but like I said, they can be dry. Muffins, like the muffin tops, are always nice, and you love to eat those, but they're more consistently moist, usually throughout. I don't know if it's just the baking process or the ingredients used, but I've always said what you should do, you make your cupcake or whatever, you got it all ready, but on the interior, you fill it with like a type of goo of sorts. Kind of like how sometimes muffins might have like blueberry syrup inside of the center of them, but you do that for a cupcake where you put some sort of chocolate goo or vanilla goo or, strawberry goo all the goos, just put them in it, and you're gonna have a good time. The trick is, me and Eric, we're working together actually right now. Nobody realizes this, but I'm going to try my best to date as many requests as I can, treat them terribly, and then Eric's going to be the rebound guy, dude. He's going to come sweeping in with those donations, with that $1 million account. He says, hey, baby, I saw Let's Read was kind of rude. Didn't respond to your text. Well, guess what? I have a seizure-inducing flash that goes off when someone texts my phone, and the vibration is stronger than most earthquakes. I will know when you text me, and I will respond within nanoseconds. That's a boyfriend. If I was a girl looking for a loyal man, that's who I go after. And that's what you're going to get with Eric. You're going to get responses on responses. He's going to be one of those boys, he doesn't even have a code for his phone. You're going to want to see it go through his text. Go right ahead. Eric has nothing to hide. You're going to want to know if he read your text. And not only he's going to have read your text, he's going to hold his thumb over top of your message, and he's going to click on the things that say stuff like haha or heart or babe, I'm so giggling right now. I love you and I want to give you babies. There's an option. You guys haven't seen it. It's new. It's on iPhone, the new update. Long story short, you can't go wrong with Eric. Date him. Date him! Date him! Come on! Get a fountain soda for your stomach like Sprite. I dare you to try to pronounce my name. Even if you get it wrong, I won't. Oh, okay, I know. Celine or Selena Ruiz. Is it Celine? Selena Ruiz? I'm just going to botch it all day. Venikins here with the donation wants to hear a convention story. A conventional convention story. Oh, oh boy, this one could be for the ages here. This story: ice cream or ice cream cone, mouse or mouse pad. What is Lucasade? I'm debating a beer, but I don't know if it'll actually help, and I did take a dab for it. No, it's not, but I don't care because you're awesome. Sorry, thank you. Oh man, I wish now you got me confused. Alright, this one's for Venikins. During the mid to late 2000s, I worked in a camera store with a photo lab. We had a fair share of gross, creepy customers that fancied themselves as pro phodogs. They shot terrible amateur porn with bad lighting, unattractive models, etc. Our male coworkers usually stepped to help with these customers because the pervs would stare at us, say borderline inappropriate things, or try to get us to look at their terrible porn with them. We had one guy who didn't actually shoot porn but was equally slimy. He attended porn conventions. Yeah, those are a thing, and would bring in a dozen or more rolls of film from these events. Every frame was him posing with the female porn stars. Terrible comparison, but think of a picture you'd take of a child at Disney with Mickey and Minnie, then replace the characters with porn stars, and replace the child with a hunched-over skinny guy that had a greasy bowl cut, beady eyes, wire-rimmed glasses, a long skinny nose, and virtually no chin. It's Leafy, guys. It wasn't just his appearance that was slimy, though. There was something just off about him. He was really timid and talked super quiet, so you'd have to lean over the counter to get close to hear him, and he always reeked of too much cologne. The worst part about this guy, besides topping off my internal creep meter, was when he'd come in to pick up his pics. He would spread them out across the counter. There were no nudes, so we couldn't stop him, and whoever was ringing him out had to help him pick out the best ones. It was so uncomfortable. To give you an example, which photo makes it look like we are together, emphasizing together and drawing out the word in a nasty, slimy way while holding up two photos for the poor employee to choose between. He would then order enlargements of the best ones in 8x10s or sometimes poster size. We used to joke that he lived in his mom's basement and used the enlargements as wallpaper. We had a good laugh at it, but I get shivers down my spine when I think about how that's probably exactly what he did. When I first started working there, we had a coworker named Jeff who dealt with the porn convention guy. I was actually warned on one of my very first days there not to help him and let Jeff deal with him. I think there had been issues with previous female employees, but I'm not sure. Maybe Jeff just had good intuition. I remember the sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach when we'd see him coming and Jeff wasn't around to help him. We'd actually play the not it game when we saw him in the parking lot. But a few years after I started, Jeff quit. We were all sad because we loved working with him. Then the porn convention guy came in and we were angry at Jeff for leaving us, and now one of us had to help him. My friend Denise was store manager and became his designated employee helper person. Things were fine for a while. Porn convention guy actually liked working with Denise and specifically requested her every time he came in. It weirded her and all of us out, but we were all young and dumb and just went with it. One day I was printing his pics and the last frame on the roll of film was a picture of Denise in the store. It almost looked like an accidental shot, like one that you take just to finish off the last frame on a disposable. Regardless, I didn't print it, cut the frame off as negatives and packaged it up. Technically, I could have been fired for that, but didn't care. Denise approached me later saying the porn convention guy was upset when he picked up his film. He said one of his pictures was missing. I found the negative in the trash, showed it to her, and I wasn't fired. It happened again the next time he came in, and every time after that. There was one picture of Denise at the end of one of the rolls of film, like he was saving that last frame for when he arrived. We always cut the negative cut and played dumb when he asked about the missing photo. Eventually someone sold him a digital camera and we printed his pictures from a memory card. We couldn't just cut off the negative anymore. Instead, we edited the picture of Denise to look like crap, too dark, washed out, bright pink, whatever we felt like that day. He never said anything, but he always seemed disappointed when he was flipping through his pictures and got to that last one. This went on until Denise was promoted to assistant district manager, maybe 2 years after Jeff left and she had to travel between all the stores in the state. I became the manager of our store and had to help this creep. Karma sucks. Thankfully, I wasn't his type, probably because I was a giant bitch to him and no images of me or any other employees showed up on his memory cards. One day, Denise is at our store for training and we see porn convention guy at the parking lot. Denise runs to the back room and hid, and I went to help him like normal, gearing up my bitch mode. First words out of his mouth, "Where's Denise?" I reminded him for the umpteenth time she no longer worked there. "But the car is here." I'm speechless and just stared at him, jaw on the floor for what felt like 10 minutes while trying to think of something to say. Finally, words came out. "I'm not sure what she drives, but she's not here." "She drives that blue Cavalier right there," and points at Denise's car. I'm seriously creeped out, grossed out, and completely dumbstruck. All I could say was, "No, it's not," like a stubborn toddler, and walked away. The guy didn't leave. He lingered at the front of the store for a half hour pretending to look at picture frames. Denise hid in the back room until he left without buying a frame or saying a word. We called her boss, the district manager, and explained everything. He told Denise not to go back to our store. Then he'd handle our training from then on, but unfortunately the porn convention guy hadn't done anything illegal and nothing he did would warrant us refusing his business, so we had to keep helping him when he came in. Next time he came in, there was a photo of her car on his memory card, which I deleted. Again, something I could get fired for, but who was going to tell? Denise was basically my boss. Occur of the recession and our business was hit bad. Our district went from having 25 stores to 3. Most of the managers kept their jobs and moved on to one of the 3 remaining stores. Denise became sales manager, I worked in the photo lab, and our store manager was a giant douche. We had a sales guy named Nick that was a big guy and a total hard ass. The first time we realized porn convention guy was bringing his pics to our store, Denise wasn't there. I went to print an order and saw his slimy face on my computer screen and just felt sick to my stomach. I told the manager and everyone about the guy and his fascination with Denise. Nick said he helped porn convention guy from then on so no one else would have to deal with it. Denise still drove the blue Cavalier and the same thing started happening. We'd see him coming. She'd hide in the back. Where's Denise? Not here. Her car is here. Not her car. Then he'd linger in the store, hoping to catch a glimpse of her, sometimes for over an hour, and leave without saying or buying anything. We called the cops once, but they said they couldn't do anything. The district manager still wouldn't allow us to refuse him service. We just continued to do what we could. Denise never worked alone, and we always made sure she was safe in her car at night before anyone drove away, something we did for everyone anyways. It all came to a head about 6 months after most of the stores closed. Porn convention guy is in the store lingering. Denise is hiding, and he just strolls on through the door to the photo lab and into the back room where Denise was sitting. Nick and I followed and stood in the doorway shocked as he stood there staring at her with beady little black eyes, smiling this creepy closed-lipped smile. No one said anything for what felt like an eternity. Finally, the store manager pushes through me and Nick in the doorway and tells porn convention guy he can't be there. The convention guy says nothing, shuffled his feet a bit, but keeps staring at Denise. I could feel how horrified she was from across the room. The useless manager then says, "Sir, you have to leave. We have photoprocessing chemicals back here. It's against OSHA policy for you to be here." So the stupidest statement ever, by the way. Totally true. Technically, that's why he shouldn't have been back there, but get the fuck out, you creepy creep, was way more appropriate at the time. Anyways, the manager is essentially useless in this situation. Denise was almost in tears. I'm in shock, and Nick, well, he looked pissed. It happened pretty quick, but I swear Nick jumped over a 6-foot table and got in porn convention guy's face, or more like towered over the cowardly little man. Calmly, quietly, but filled with rage and anger, Nick says, "Get the fuck out, and don't come back." The porn convention guy was practically pissing himself. He backed up towards the sales floor and walked backwards all the way out the door, visibly shaken the entire time. Nick stayed within inches of him until he was outside. We called the cops again. They can't do anything. We called the district manager. Nick got a slap on the wrist for chasing off a paying customer, followed by a good job, and Denise went home for the day. We, of course, walked her to her car, and porn convention guy never came back to pick up his creepy enlargements. I like to think that every time he stares at the gap in his porn convention wallpaper, he remembers Nick towering over him, ready to smash his greasy bowl-cut-covered head into the table. Too Long Didn't Read. After years of accommodating a creepy customer that almost but not quite stalked a coworker, we learned that all we needed was a big angry male coworker to scare the shit out of him. And Enzify. True ass story, por favor. Any genre. Love, let's read. Thanks, friend. Awesome. Venikins, I hope that was somewhat of a convention story. I guess it was about a person that goes to a convention. I apologize if that wasn't quite within genre for you, but I hope you enjoyed. Oops. And then I think way up here, I think I may have missed somebody. Maria Jorgensen. Want to hear one of the best stories in your Opie? Okay. I wonder what that would be. Best story. Trying to scroll back up through here to see if I missed anything. Sorry, guys. I wonder how I refresh this. Well, I hope I didn't miss anybody as I was going through that story. Got Maria, and then if there was anybody before Maria that donated, I hope maybe you could let me know. You know what I mean? Take a porn corn story any day. This is porn about corn. Saves lives. Now with the Me Too movement growing, men will become more cautious. Celine wants me to try to speak Spanish. Well, you're in for a treat. Because I know none. Kaylin's leaving. Let's read. My offer for the date still stands now, but I must go watch my cousin's mini humans. Well, good luck, Kaylin. I hope that they don't poop all over you, and that you will be blessed with many a clean diaper. But thank you for hanging out, Kaylin. I'm just going to have a convention, a date Let's Read convention. That'll be fun. Everybody can just come, and we'll do a regular old bachelorette, or bachelor. Does anyone here enjoy watching UFC? I used to watch UFC a lot. I guess not a lot, but I enjoyed going to, like, places to watch it and stuff like that. But then I realized that nobody wants to watch that with me anymore, so now I just kind of catch it from time to time. Kashi had requested a demon story. Always down for a good daemon. And Azriel M requested a Haitian zombie story. Oh boy. That's like hyper specific to what's his name? Mr. X Dreams. Azrael. Haiti zombie. We'll see what we can find here, but those are far and few between. Alright, so this one's for my lady Kashi. At the time, I was living with my parents. I was probably 19 or 20. I had 2 cats that slept in my room during the night. Another detail worth noting is that my room was set up with my bed against the wall across from the door, a dresser at the end of the bed, and the closet was across and to the left of the dresser, so the opposite corner of my bed. My ceiling fan had one of those remote controls for the settings, and the light, super cool feature for me because I hated getting out of bed to turn off lights. It was like mid-November. I don't remember what time it was that I woke up. I just know that it was in the middle of the night. I don't know what prompted me to wake up so suddenly. When I did, I heard a shuffle in my closet. I kept the litter boxes in my closet and left the door slightly cracked for the cats to get in and out. I assumed it was just one of them in the closet. When I turned over, my boy was right next to me where he always sleeps. This made me prop up a little to see where my other cat was. I saw her silhouette in the dark, sound asleep on the foot of my bed. My mind was really tired, and I didn't care for the annoyance of being woken up in the middle of the night, so my head hit the pillow once again. Keep in mind, I've dealt with strange things my whole life, so I didn't think much of the noise in the closet. As I started to drift off, I heard something slide across the floor from my closet to the end of the bed. The sound could be best described as a stuffed animal or a cat toy sliding across the floor. I glanced over once again to see both cats asleep. Now, I started to panic. In the dark, still laying down trying to be as invisible as possible, I felt around for the remote to the light. I quickly found it and pressed the button. Nothing. Then I felt something jump onto my bed at the foot. It felt about the size of my cat's, so a small animal or creature. Now, what happened in this moment was so terrifying I don't even remember what happened with my cats. I'm not sure if they woke up and ran or were unfazed completely. The creature moved up my bed. I could feel the pressure and movement of the sheets around me. I kept pressing the damn light button, but nothing was happening. Then this thing is on top of me all of a sudden, scratching me. I started to scream, hoping my parents down the hall would come in and save me. I'm not sure if my screams were actual words like help or just terrified noises. The creature felt like it had fur or hair. I never actually saw it, and that could have been because I closed my eyes out of fear or it was just too dark. But it started speaking to me. I don't exactly remember the sound of its voice, only that it kept telling me, "It's October." Now there was confusion added to my terror. It was November, not October. Was this thing trying to tell me its name was October? Or trying to tell me something about October? I was too terrified to question anything. All of a sudden, the scratching stopped. It was gone. The creature had vanished. I clicked my button once more and the light actually turned on. I still don't remember where my cats ended up being. I don't even remember falling back asleep. I do remember the next morning and having scratches on my stomach. But here's where it gets even weirder. When I told my parents about it, and more importantly, questioned why the hell they didn't come running when I was screaming, they said they never heard me screaming. My mom told me how she woke up feeling like something was watching her, and she looked up to see eyes staring at her from across the room. She explained them that they looked like owl's eyes, and the silhouette was of a small animal type thing. Now my dad was explaining a dream that he had about a small furry creature. I don't remember the rest of what he told me. I don't know what this creature was or what it wanted. More importantly, the significance of October. Was it a demon? I often question my sanity about this, but both my parents have had similar encounters that validated my experience. Has anyone else had a similar experience or have any info on what this creature could have been? It still gives me chills to this day. What do you guys think? Anybody else had a little fur ball jump up and tell you the wrong month or anything like that while you're sleeping? That would creep me out. I don't know if I would respond. It's not October, it's November, buddy. Get it right. Sony W, back at it with a 30 big one, says, one more time, a Let's Not Meet story, please. Absolutely. Sony, you got it. Thank you so much for that donation. That's very kind. Thank you, Kashi, for your donation, and I hope you enjoy that demonic story. Maria wants to hear the best story that I've ever read. And that would be interesting to determine. I'm thinking potentially the one about this girl's uncle or uncle of sorts, and a train track. Uncle Train. It was like in Russia or something, or Ukraine. Train, Ukraine. Oh, this might be it. Yeah. This is it. You guys might even remember this one. But it's definitely a creepy one, to say the least. Celine asked dogs or cats. Now, I have a cat, and he's the best cat of all time, and he's very nice and awesome. But I definitely, if given the choice, and I never had a cat until a couple years ago, but if given the choice, I'm definitely more of a dog person. My cat's name is Pradeep. He's a good boy. Eric Lane says, bro, what did you say something, Eric? I don't even know. It's hard to search through all the text. Tell chat how great I am. Chat, I don't even know if I can say any nicer things about Eric. He's a darling and a scholar. And if you don't date him, we will come to your house and force you to have a steak dinner with him. And you better leave a tip, because we paid like $50 for that steak. and it won't go to waste. Okay, chat? You will date Eric. You will date him! Just kidding. Eric's a good guy. This one's called, well, I guess it's not called anything, but when I was about 12, my great-uncle John came from Ukraine to visit us in Canada. He had a lot of stories, but this was the one that stood out. In the late 60s, John was traveling by train from his village to another to visit his family. He had changed trains at one point and was dropped off at what amounted to a platform in a hut in the middle of nowhere. There was no one else at the station, and other than a dirt road that led off into the surrounding woods, there was nothing there. He waited for some time, but no train came. It was winter and getting colder and darker, and just about that time, he started worrying about a place to stay and some food to eat. An old woman appeared out of the twilight. She asked if he was waiting for such and such train, and when he said he was, she said it wouldn't be long until the following day. She asked if he needed a bed for the night and offered him a meal and a room at her house, which she said was about an hour's walk from the station. Lodging with locals was more or less the standard when traveling in this part of the USSR, and Great-Uncle John wasn't looking forward to a hungry night on a cold platform, so he was glad to accept her offer. He took his suitcase and they set off together down the dark road into the forest. It was more than an hour away, more like 2, and by the time they arrived at the woman's small 2-story house, John was tired and hungry. They went inside and John lit some oil lamps and warmed some borscht for them. It was the first time John was able to see the woman clearly, and he was a bit startled to realize that the old woman was actually a man. Not wanting to pry and too tired to care, John finished his soup and asked where he would be sleeping. She led him up the stairs to a tiny room with a window that contained a single bed and nothing else. He thanked her, they said goodnight, and she closed the door. Then she locked it, leaving him in the dark. Somewhat creeped out by this, John called to her, but she didn't answer and he heard nothing else, figuring he would deal with it in the morning, and that she had probably done it by mistake. John set his suitcase down and laid on the bed, deciding to make the best of it and get some sleep. Before he could fall asleep, though, he felt the urge to pee and got out of bed, hoping to find a chamber pot or something he could pee in. He got onto his hands and knees and began to feel under the bed in the darkness, thinking that's where the pot would be if there was one. Instead, he found a body. "Nope," Great-Uncle John said, and went right to the window to see if he could exit the room that way. It was nailed shut. He knew that if he remained in the room, he would probably be a dead man, but if he broke the window and tried to get out that way, there was a good chance that the old woman, and who knows who else was there, would hear him and come into the room before he could get away. So he did the only thing he could do. He pulled the body from under the bed, heaved it onto the mattress, and covered it with a blanket. Then he got under the bed and waited. Sure enough, about an hour later, he heard footsteps coming slowly up the stairs and then toward the room. The lock clicked, and the knob turned slowly. In the gloom, John saw someone move toward the bed. Then he heard several terrific and sickening thuds. The person had bashed the body on the bed with a large crowbar, which they then dropped onto the floor right in front of John. There was silence. Then the person went out the room, and the door was shut again. The footsteps went down the stairs, and then there was silence again. John moved out from under the bed, took the crowbar, and was able to slowly pry the window open. He didn't say, but I imagine he was shitting bricks the entire time. When the window was up, he threw his suitcase out, then dove out through himself, not caring what was below him, only worried about what was behind. He landed without too much injury and began to run into a field behind the house towards some lights in the far distance. It turned out to be a highway with some military and transport trucks on it, and John was able to get a ride to another village where he could catch a train. He didn't bother reporting what happened to the authorities, since at that time in the USSR, there was a distinct chance that he would have been the one who got into trouble. He just thanked God that he escaped, and decided that the next time he traveled to visit relatives, he would take another way. Clarissa Gundy, hey Clarissa, it's good to see you. With $2 says, "Let's read. You're just wonderful." Thank you. Appreciate that. You guys are wonderful as well. But yeah, that's USSR, old vodka. Let's read. You helped me finish my homework when my ADHD was at its worst. If it wasn't for you, I would have failed middle school. Thank you. Keep uploading for the new school year. Holy cow, that's really interesting, honestly. That, I know people say my voice helps them sleep and various other things. But that's cool that it really helped you concentrate and get stuff done, and that's awesome. That is really awesome. I'm excited for you, Queen Summer, and I hope you have a good school year coming up. I know school is starting up very shortly, so I feel bad for literally everybody. School can be fun. Honestly, I think that's the best part about school is just have fun with it, No point in getting too anxious because, if you think about it, you go to school at the bare minimum till you're 17 or 18 or something of that sort. And then you've got and this is a little bit liberal, but you've got 70 years left. You got about 70 years left of your life to live, so you know what? Screw it. Just have a good time while you're in school. Try your hardest, I guess. And I don't know. Just have a good time. Enzify would like to hear a true story. But yeah, guys, that's my favorite story. That one about that person's uncle. It's definitely really creepy and cool. It kind of plays out a little bit like a no sleep story, like it's almost too good to be true, but it could very well be true, and this person's just a really good writer. Getting a job. Yeah, getting a job is more important. Yeah. I don't know. Just don't go to school for something that is not going to sort of guarantee that you're going to get a job, and you don't always need to go to school to get a good paying job. Like all sorts of technical skills and stuff like that pay really well, like welding or carpentry and plumbing and skills like that you can also use in your everyday life. I mean, I know maybe girls won't really be into those kind of technical jobs, but that doesn't keep them from certainly doing them. And yeah, there's just so many college degrees, and I bitch about this all the time on stream, but there's so many college degrees that are just so worthless. But the banks and the schools have no problem taking hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, $100,000 on average for each person. And yeah, it's then you have a co-signer, so then maybe you get out of school and you can't pay those loans, and then all of a sudden that burden goes on your parent or legal guardian or family member or whoever co-signed with you. But I think it's important for parents to also kind of do that research for their kid. I mean, just going into school by itself or going to college in and of itself, unless you get a scholarship or something like that, isn't always the wisest decision. So definitely approach every decision in life that involves investing your money with a very cold and calculated perspective. And there's plenty of information on the internet for that. All you have to do is look up the best jobs for getting a job, or the best degrees for getting a job out of school. I went for nursing. That's a great one. Healthcare is always going to be around. Engineering, things like that, software engineering, getting into software. And there's also these awesome platforms like YouTube that you yourself could, if you feel that you could give something to the world that is not necessarily present, I'd say go for it. Invest your time into that rather than something that is really just part of a social normative, I suppose. Can I do a video on life advice? This is it. You're living it right here. Yeah, people have said that my voice is calming at my nursing job. Honestly, I'm like borderline about to quit my nursing job, though. I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but so I had student loans out for it. I have paid them off, and I don't know. I think like obviously I don't know how long YouTube is going to be around and whatnot, but at the same time, there's just a side of me that Tia. Sorry for the hard username. You can just call me Tia. Yeah, my bad. Sorry about that. Wrecking Retro with the 2. Thank you guys both for the 2. It says, I have true stories in your inbox. Please read. I am checking right now. Wrecking Retro, I don't see it here in my inbox. Oh, man. This is a very annoying thing that's going on right now, and I apologize that I don't see yours in my inbox. It's letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com, but I am currently trying to set up a podcast, and I'm doing it through a third-party, host called Audio Boom, and they're great. They've been great, but for some reason, as I go to sign into iTunes and then sign into Podcast Connect, I am unable to do so. And that's really hindering me from essentially getting this podcast out to you guys so you can have it available on the go rather than having to use your data for YouTube and things like that. So let me just respond to her real quick here. I talked to Apple and they tell me they are working on fixing the issue with no recent results. I guess I'm not the only one dealing with this issue. All right, so yeah, I mean, I do really want to get that figured out, because it would be sick. It'd be sweet to like have the podcast up and going. I can reach a lot more people. Vanessa, can you imagine Let's Read doing ASMR? Guys, help me think of an ASMR channel, because I want to level with you guys right now. YouTube, ever since my big changes on my channel where I deleted a lot of videos and then I increased my upload frequency to 4 videos a week, I've just been getting screwed over by YouTube, and it's been really hard because every time I upload a video, I'll upload it as scheduled because I'm on like a schedule of, as you guys know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and I would upload at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I would just have it scheduled to release at that point, and it would sit, and there's like a little, you may have heard about the little green $sign that's next to each video, letting you know that it's monetized and able to run advertisements, and that's how people make money on YouTube, and mine is green, good to go, the video releases, and all of a sudden, it just reverts back to a yellow $sign, which is limited advertising, which essentially means you're making pennies on what you previously could have made with green. And all of your view, and then you have to have someone manually review it from YouTube. They say they've gotten better with it, but it still, for me, takes, when you have someone manually review it, it takes up to like 24 hours or more for someone from YouTube's team to review my videos. And I don't know why that is. And I've literally, in the 24 hours is where I get most of my views for a video before it just kind of dies. So, it's so difficult sometimes. And that's why I've been so thankful for how generous you guys have been on these streams, because you guys have been awesome, and they keep me motivated to keep making content, keep reading, and just keep the channel going. But I don't know, at like a weird transitionary point, I am going to go back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday uploads and try to do audio that's longer, because that seems to be more preferred by you guys and the YouTube algorithm as well, as far as content goes. I thought 30 minutes was solid content because so many other narrators do less than that and not as consistently, but the channel, I don't know, is just struggling right now. But yesterday's video, I don't know if anybody watched the paranormal video yesterday. Ye dig. I do have a Patreon, and the one thing I do give there, which is good, is early access to stuff. So as soon as I make the audio, it goes up there first, like way before YouTube. So that's one benefit, and you can download it as an MP3 and save it for your own personal use, whatever. So if you want to jump on Patreon, if anybody does, that would be awesome. Obviously, show first dibs to them. But yeah, like I did this paranormal video yesterday, and the tags are the same. I don't swear in any of my videos anymore. Like, I really try to censor things but still maintain the general concept and stuff like that. And it got a yellow $sign. I did a manual review request, and then and this never happens. It's usually like they'll look at it and be like, oh, it's just a guy reading stuff, and it's not like bad, it's just scary stories, put it back to green. And at least then I'll be making money on the video for any future views it gets. But it was confirmed by manual review that it was not advertiser friendly, and I'm like, who makes these decisions? Like, it's so inconsistent. They say that there's an algorithm that's learning based on the fact that some of your videos have been green before, so it's just like, I don't even know anymore. It's like YouTube is so unreliable and inconsistent. It's just like, all I want to do is make this content for you guys, because that's just the direction that I've gone with my channel, and that's my identity here on YouTube. And it just makes it so hard when you can't reliably create that content and also make a living from it. I don't know. It's difficult. But guys, thank you, Eric, again, my brother with the $2 says dudes before YouTube. That's a great saying. I like that a lot. Shannon Dunn with $10 says a true one. Yeah, I'm sitting here rambling about my life problems, but guys, you just want to hear some stories, and I respect that, honestly. Wrecking Retro with the $3 says, I email with my tags, so you should be able to see it. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Dang. I am so sorry, Wrecking Retro. It's not coming through. Even in the spam folder, I don't usually get stories. Oh, I did get one. Molested by a ghost? That was in my spam folder. So that's kind of funny. But Wrecking, would it be possible if you were to submit the story to my subreddit, reddit.com/r/Let's Read Official is the subreddit, and make sure you title whatever you want to title it, and then just put Wrecking Retro in your title so that I can potentially find it there. You just have to copy and paste it. But alright, guys, enough of my rambles. I hope I didn't skip a story here. No, I don't think I did. My favorite food, shoot, I like lasagna. It's good stuff. Oh, man. Okay, there it is. Jammin' in my PJs with the $3. Thank you, Jammin'. Appreciate that. And Enzify would like to hear a true, which was Tia, I believe. Yes. Was I in the midst of... I almost felt like I was in the midst of a story. Eric says, do a live stream next April when I get an income tax. I'll donate big. Eric, thank you so much for what you have given. It's you really nobody really has to donate. I'll still enjoy hanging out with you guys and reading stories. Obviously, I'm very appreciative of this. You guys keep food in my belly, and it is a belly indeed. A belly in need is a belly indeed. I was 15 and a half and on a flight from San Francisco to Pennsylvania to visit my boyfriend starting college on the East Coast. While I was curvy in all the right places, I was also very clearly still a child. I even mentioned to my seatmate casually in passing that I was on high school break and visiting my newly graduated high school boyfriend to help him move into college. About an hour into the flight, I fall asleep with my sunglasses on. I wake up to something feeling off, but I'm confused. What awoke me when I realized that the pressure on my leg in the back and forth movement of a man's hand on my upper and inner thigh area, and wait for it. I froze. I didn't scream. I didn't even say no. Actually, for what felt like eons, but was probably seconds, I pretended to still be asleep. Then I fake woke up with a startle, and he realized he immediately pulled his hand back and looked nonchalantly out the window. I went to the restroom, confused but aware that anywhere else besides my seat was the right place to be right now. My dad, who wasn't really a dad as much as an uncle at this point of life, and who had agreed to fly down with but made me buy my own ticket, so we sat separately, was about 10 rows back, and I awkwardly crouched next to him and told him what had happened, all the while looking furiously ahead as the man was starting to look behind him, presumably for me. Well, after saying what happened, a flight attendant was informed, and when the plane landed, multiple police agents came and the pilot told everyone to be seated. 2 agents or officers, not sure who exactly, escorted us off the plane, and the guy was silent the whole time, as were we, as was the plane. They took us on golf carts to the airport office area, and then somewhere we ended up behind the crappy guy's golf cart, and he was facing back, so he just stared at me the whole ride to the airport police station. It was creepy and awkward. It took forever, and I don't really remember how long after, but at least a year, but he was finally brought up in court. Jurisdiction was fuzzy for some reason. You think they would have worked that out by now, so there were 2 separate trials as it was bounced from federal to state. He ended up claiming I put my head on his shoulder, and that made him think I was coming on to him, but obviously he was worried as he pled to a lesser charge that would keep him off a sex offenders list, something that in hindsight is really frustrating and I wished I had pushed more for, but it was not my choice. Yikes. Creepazoid. Don't be a creepazoid, it gets you into trouble. Lesson learned, kids. Wear your butter socks on a plane. Keep you safe. Alright, Tia, thank you for your request. Azriel would like a Haitian zombie. To be honest, this one's going to be a little rough. Because I don't even... Those were super specific to an old video, but... Bath salts or paranormal? Let's ASMR would be lit. Oh, for my ASMR channel. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Like, I could do ASMR. Honestly, it wouldn't be too hard because I could just read stories, but just like... Lucy, hey, take care. Good luck. You know, it wouldn't be too hard because I think I could just record straight through. There wouldn't be any editing, any mistakes I made. It would be similar to how you would see it here on the stream, but instead I would be whispering. Do you think I should turn my mic up more, or for the ASMR aspect, or, you know, all that kind of stuff when I sprinkle my fingers together and all the dandruff goes all over my keyboard and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know. Like, honestly, yeah, if you get the tingles and stuff, that is awesome. Maybe that's my future here on YouTube, is down the ASMR route. Noe Erica, she is here with the 250 PHP. I'm not even sure what that is, but it sounds amazing. I'm at work again. I can't wait to listen to you later. Sending lots of love. Thank you, Noe. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Am I doing ASMR? Should I read this entire story in ASMR? Would that be... I should probably read it in my normal voice so I'm not screwing somebody who donated out of... But I can read one after this in a potential ASMR voice. Let me know if that's bad or not. We're probably going to get a split decision here. Do you remember those nightmares you had as a kid where something was chasing your car as you drove to get away? Well, when I was in my freshman year of high school in 2012, there was a parents' night being held at one of the students' houses for the parents to get to know each other. Since I joined the school play, my friend's mom offered to drive some of us to the house after, so our parents didn't have to drive to come pick us up late at night. So it was me, two friends, and the mom. We turn into the neighborhood and we see something laying in the middle of the street. It's a very empty back road. At first I thought it was a black lab and wanted to go help, but then we realized it was a body dressed in all black. We just wait for a bit in the intersection, wondering if we should call the police. Well, this thing started to move. It slowly gets up and begins to crawl across the road. We turn left as it crawls right. We go slow. This thing gets up and starts limping like a zombie out of a Michael Jackson Thriller. Our immediate reaction is he's on drugs, but this thing slowly turns and notices we're there. It starts growling and hissing, its face covered by a hood, and it's dark out. We start to pick up pace as this thing starts running as fast as it can, still zombie-like though. It's chasing our car. We can see it out of the back window, gaining on us, faster than a human should run. It felt like a nightmare. My friend's mom decides to obey the stop sign and stop, so this person gets right up to our window and is hissing and snarling like an animal. She floors it and we eventually lose it. It terrified me for so long. We joke that it's probably some poor dude who got hit by a car or something and we didn't stop to help him, and we nervously laugh, but we're all sitting in the kids' room huddled together, pissing ourselves. My friend's mom calls the police to notify them, and he tells her it was likely bath salts. I've heard that bath salts make you do crazy things, but does it really give you crazy human speed? Gibby. Oh yeah, I like Gibby's channel. She's cute. But yeah, I could do the finger flutters. Alrighty, so that wasn't quite a Haitian zombie story, but I guess you could call that a Western zombie story. Antonia Laura, what's up? It's good to see you. But I think PHP is Philippine peso according to the Google, and 250 is 468 in USD. Awesome. Thank you for that conversion. Appreciate it. And thank you for the donation as well. Thank you, Azriel, for requesting that zombie story. Sony had a big... Sony PlayStation here had a big donation earlier, so we are going to dive into that and see what we get. Queen Summer says her dog says hi. What up, dog? Give him or her a pet for me. What's my favorite beer? Francis Connor. I'm just gonna say random beers. I do like Francis Connor. It's light, but it's classy. I'm not much of a drinker, though. I just never could stomach it. I go to parties and... Maybe it's because I was kind of stupid and mixed a bunch of stuff like a big amateur, but... If you're gonna drink, make sure you stick to the same thing all night. Otherwise, for me, I always freaking vomited. But not too much into the drinking. Noe Erica, back from the Philippines, says, by the way, you're pronouncing my name correctly. That's good. You're the first one I've done it, so I'm getting better, guys. I'm getting better, chat. Here's a freaker from the back catalog for everybody here. I wrote it on my phone, so it's not likely to win any literature awards, but I'll try and reply to questions and clear up anything confusing. A few summers back, my friend Gigi was going through a really dark time. We both lived in New Orleans, and the summer months can be like that there, like an inverse parallel of winters somewhere up north. It's brutally hot instead of freezing. The town empties out as people escape to cooler climates, and it seems endless. The summertime blues, it's like seasonal depression for southerners. It was the dog days of August, when even the breeze stops blowing. Sometimes the best way to beat a funk is to just get out of town. We planned a weekend trip to the beach in Pensacola, a 4-hour drive away, with the intention of meeting up with a group of friends who were already camped out on a desolate strip of beach we frequented back in those days. By the time we rattled out the city limits in my oven of a car, Gigi was cheerier than I'd seen her in weeks. One overturned watermelon truck and 2 detours later, our 4-hour drive had turned to 6, and it was approaching midnight when we rolled into town. Either asleep or drunk, our friends couldn't be reached to get directions to where exactly they were on the beach. I doubt we tried very hard, though. Neither of us much care for camping. What we did both care for quite a bit was a good old seedy motel. It was strangely hard to find one with vacancies. Neither of us had a smartphone to look one up. We searched the old-fashioned, finding a rundown enough gas station, and asked the clerk. That was how we found the rat trap. Weird thing, the guy at the desk didn't want to rent to me at first. He told me there were no open rooms, but recanted just as I was about to walk out the door and head over to the dirt ball across the street. We got our $40 room after all. Victory was fleeting. Some fuckhead had been creeping on Gigi in the parking lot while I was checking in. The stairs up to the second-story landing were littered with debris from the chain of a shattered door latch. The latch had been on our door. I guess this is why the clerk didn't want to rent this room. The deadbolt was still intact, though. We made sure to test it, registering the obvious implications of the strewn, busted latch. There are seedy motels, and then there are seedy motels, and this one really was a cut above. I'm certain we wouldn't have stayed if the bolt lock hadn't been secured, but it was past 1 a.m., we were beat and poor, and it was our tropical beach vacation. Balm for all the ails. We made wine spritzers with Topo Chico, played some cards, and put on that hallmark of motels across the nation, Law and Order, to fall asleep. I figured the noises started around 2 or 3. I woke up to the distinct sound of long fingernails slowly drumming on glass. I went on the side of the bed closet to the window and to the side door, close enough that I could reach out and touch the curtains lying down. I rose quietly and pulled the curtain open just enough to peek. Eyes. Just eyes. Wild like when a horse gets spooked and shows his whites. She must have been trying to peer through the part in the curtain, because her face was inches from mine. Some horror movie shit. I choked down a scream. We looked at each other for a minute. The fluorescent light outside cast everything in a green pallor. It was like looking into an aquarium. Her acrylic nails were poised mid-tap. Wig askew, eyes rolling, slightly swaying in her heels, I was so relieved I almost laughed. Just a crackhead. I was impressed and pleasantly surprised by the authority of my voice, firm and angry and not belaying my fear. She was asking for some guy, I can't remember the name. I guess it must have been the guy staying here before us. Broken latch, crackhead ladies, everything checked out. I told her it was just me and my friend. No, dude. Don't fucking do that thing with your nails in the window, it's creepy. Her voice was muffled by the glass. She insisted for a minute, and she thought he was in there with us, but left pretty shortly, and I went back to bed. I don't know how much time passed, long enough that I managed to doze off. I jolted awake to the sound of the door rattling. Of course, it was the same fucking crackhead, looking for the same guy as before, saying something to the effect of, "I know he's in there with you." But after some back and forth, she was gone again. Only thing was, I could fucking swear I'd seen her open the door a crack. We checked the lock again just to be sure it wouldn't open without a key and that I must have dreamed it. Once satisfied, we tried our best to sleep. The third time, I was certain that the door opening wasn't a dream. I could make out a silhouette of a woman with wild black hair backlit in the doorway. I flew to the door, slamming it shut with the force of my body, with GJ right behind me, dragging the flimsy card table and chairs to create a barricade while I held the lock in place with both hands, the woman outside yelling incoherently all the while. So she has a key. All we could think to do was shove every stick of furniture in the room against the door, save for a bulky armoire awkwardly blocking the room's closet. She seemed to have given up. We laid back down again, debating trying to make a run for the office to use the phone or ask for help somehow, but delirium and fear won out, and we nodded off, hoping she was satisfied at seeing that her boyfriend or whatever wasn't in the room. The next time the door opened, though, there was a second voice, another woman. This time all hell broke loose. We were screaming, they were screaming, pounding on the door trying to force it open. The second woman kept yelling about needing to get in the room, yelling, "We're not going to hurt you, boo-boo, just let us in." And, "Just let us in and we won't hurt you." When something finally clicked in my head. There was something in there they wanted. Drugs, money, whatever. They weren't both pissed off at the thought of some dude cheating or sharing his drugs, or whatever they imagined he was doing with us in their addled brains. "Just tell me what you want and I'll throw it outside." There was a momentary break in the din and I broke away, frantically looking in every place that I could think for whatever had been stashed. Under the sink, chamber of the toilet, air vents, under the mattress, but I came up with nothing. It had been quiet then for too long. I pressed my ear to the door, listening. The second woman was on the phone, pacing in and out of earshot. When she came back to the door, she was laughing and reinvigorated. They went back to forcing the door. "You want to do this the hard way? I'm bringing my boys, bitch. They're gonna fuck you up." We were matched dead even. There was no fucking way we were going to be able to keep them out when the dudes they had called showed up. Dawn was just breaking. If they would just fucking leave again for a minute, we could make a run for the car. But it seemed like we'd missed our chance. The second voice was still laughing like crazy, yelling about her boys with the guns coming to get us out of there. And then, silence. The door stopped moving. I heard footsteps on the stairs and then male voices. I pressed myself against the wall beside the door with my glass Topo Chico bottle raised. More voices. The woman talking in quiet voices that I couldn't make out, and then a knock. It was the police. They ran all of our information, let the woman go, and gave us 15 minutes to follow suit, which was easy because we'd already packed, hoping to make a break for it earlier. Why we were told to leave is still beyond me, but it's not like we would have stayed anyway when the woman could show up back at any time, not to mention their friends with the hammers. I went down to the office trying to get a refund. Not happening. The guy told me I could take him to court for it. I was steamed. He knew the other people had the key, or at least that the room was a trap spot for crack. It's why he didn't want to rent it in the first place. In hindsight, I wish I had taken his ass to court. It just wasn't feasible considering I lived 4+ hours away and didn't have the money for court fees or a lawyer. He probably knew that too, though, greedy fucker. Back at the room, the police had left and Gigi just wanted to get out of there. As I was grabbing my backpack, I looked at the awkwardly placed armoire, the only piece of furniture that hadn't been shoved against the door, the only spot I hadn't checked for whatever it was they were so desperately looking for. Then we went to Waffle House. The end. That was a good one. I liked it. Cashy, with the 10, where do you want to visit? Have you ever been outside of the U.S.? Also requesting horror travel story. Nice. Where? Thank you, Sony, for your request. Where have I been? I mean, I guess I've been on some missions trips down to... I went to the Dominican Republic. We went to Puerto Rico. For a wedding, I went to Jamaica. So I've been in a lot of the tropical places. I've been to the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. That was a good time. I mean, it was like a tourist trap, but I mean, the falls were beautiful, and it was interesting. And did you ever go, you like spend so much time at home, and then you go to a place that's just full of a lot of people, and you're just like, holy shizballs, dude. Like, there are so many people on this earth that are all living my experience right now. Not necessarily my experience, but like I have an individual perspective in the midst of 8 billion other individuals having the same experience I'm having of like confusion, feelings, sensations, desires, and hopes and dreams are all having that experience. And it's almost like sometimes too much for me to handle in like a large group of people. I mean, I'm not like going to have a panic attack or anything like that, but like it's just like your brain is just like on overdrive. Like I guess they call it sondering, or to sonder about those down below. If you're looking out, maybe a skyscraper down at the city below you, or you're looking at a large group of people who are at Niagara Falls. And it's just sometimes kind of overwhelms my heart a little bit, because it also is strange to think sometimes like you have a perspective that you like really, really believe, whether it's like religious, political, or just in general, that a philosophy you developed in your life, and you kind of feel like this is the truth, and then you realize that every individual on earth all has like their own sort of hyper specific individualized truths that you will never in your life be able to comprehend, nor will you be able to really refute them, because that's truth to that individual. But that's not to say there isn't some sort of universal truth or something like that, but it can be daunting at times to consider. Shelby Lynn with the $4.99. I'm not sure why it won't let me do exactly 5, but true stalker story. You're my favorite, Let's. Thanks for gifting your voice to the world. Thank you, Lynn. That was a very nice thing to say. I appreciate that. I often think that. I mean, like, the fact that I can talk like this, or that it brings pleasure to a large amount of people, and I can make a living off this, that is a gift from God, and I am very thankful for that. So you said you'd like a true stalker. Oakley Dokley neighbor. And Chloe Bacall with the $1.99. Thank you, Chloe. If you have any requests, be sure to let us know. Jerry Pikainen. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Don't do drugs, kids. As I'm musing on about nonsense, Let's Read's going through a bit of a trip right now. It could be true. It could be true. Too much LSD in Let's Read's brain hole right now. It's just all burrows. Yeah, don't do meth. I saw a funny meme. I can find it real quick. It was Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson. You think, yeah, I do math, English, science, and history. That's a pretty good one. Kim Tran with the $5. Thank you for sharing your truth. I am growing to learn mine, and it does get overwhelming when you deep dive into what being alive is really like. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you can relate there. I'm glad you can share. You feel comfortable to share your thoughts, and thank you so much for the 5. It can be hard at times. I mean, I've realized, like, and this is gonna sound a little sad, but I'm recently kind of like wrestling with the desire of quitting my nursing job, and that's something personal I'm sharing with all of you guys here, which I've not even shared with shared with my actual work per se. So anyways, basically, I've been doing nursing for a while. I've been doing it for a long enough duration of time that I hope to actually, or did it for a long enough time that I've actually paid off my student loans for it, and I've kind of gotten to a point where I've realized that I don't know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, clearly it is a good middle class paying job that can feed a family and house a couple humans and yada yada. But after experiencing the freedom and the joy that I get from you guys here on YouTube, I know that YouTube won't last forever, but like, there's a side of me that just wants to almost like take a massive risk and just get out of that negative environment that takes its toll on you and working in healthcare, that I never otherwise would have thought about before, because everyone's always think about your retirement, think about your healthcare, think about all of these things. And those are good things to think about. But I guess because I don't have children, because I don't have a wife, and I'm a relatively healthy, happy individual, there's a part of me that just is like, screw it, bro. You know what I mean? Just worst case scenario, you quit there, YouTube goes to shit. I might just move down to Texas or something like that and audition for some animes or something, find an agent and just live life, because every day is every day. And as we discover these truths about life, we realize that we really only have a very brief period of time, and in a lot of ways our time is our most valuable asset, and we really need to know how to invest that appropriately. Obviously, acquiring the appropriate resources to support yourself and eat food and have proper hygiene and all those kind of things are important, but at the same time, you got to look out for your own mental well-being, because there's also a fear that I end up getting stuck at that hospital job, and the monotony of it all slowly wells up inside of you until you've got a tumor the size of a golf ball right on top of your cerebellum or something like that. Uncaused Pizza 20. Did I already say thank you so much for your donation? 99 or $1 there. Appreciate that. All right. So we got to get back to reading some stories here. I am rambling. Shannon wants a true story, and I am going to give it to her. Everybody's getting some excitement in Texas. Does anybody know about out in Texas as far as Funimation goes? Anybody familiar with Funimation and their process in which they hire people? I'm sure you need an agent and things like that. Sony PlayStation W, $20. Dealer's choice. I just like supporting my favorite YouTubers. I love being supported. And thank you so much, Sony. You got a dealer's choice coming here. We might have something spooky here for you. I've got a creepypasta writer that I've been into lately, and I might be able to bust one of those out. I hope it's okay if I deviate from the typical true, but I think you guys might be in for a treat. All right. This happened when I was a senior in high school. So the too long didn't read of the context is what the original weight trainer teacher got his back messed up after trying to break up a fight between some guys. One of the guys decided it would be a good idea to push the 70-something-year-old teacher into a bunch of weights, so a fairly new substitute teacher was going to fill in for him while he recovered. Now, at first glance, this teacher doesn't radiate creepiness like most subjects of these kinds of stories do. In fact, I had fun in that class despite being only 1 out of 3 girls in that entire class. We stuck together and had a blast. So during and after class, he'd strike up small talk with me. I didn't think much of it, as all the teachers in that school were all decent people and quite friendly. He'd just talk about how I was doing in class and what we were going to do the next day, etc., and eventually it evolved into small talk about me and my other classes, life outside of it, and things like that. But the weirdness happened when I participated in my school's yearly cultural fair. I was the only one available to represent the Vietnam booth in the little fashion walk, where people would wear their cultural's traditional clothing and walk out into the gymnasium as a model of sorts. I was used to compliments, and I was very proud of being able to wear my mother's dress. For those who are curious, look up Owl Day to see the type of dress. I probably botched that pronunciation, but... So after the school assembly was done, I waited for the gym to clear out so I can leave without being smushed and trampled. Lo and behold, the substitute walked up to me for small talk. Again, I didn't think much of it since before then his actions never really crossed the line. He asked about my nationality and the dress, just things like that. I noticed that he was uncomfortably close to me, despite the gym being almost cleared out by then. I was getting really uncomfortable, and I just wanted to leave and hang out with my friends while waiting for my dad to pick me up. And then, out of nowhere, he leans in real close and says, "You know, I once dated a Vietnamese woman." Well, you aren't going to date another one anytime soon. I was like, "Oh, that's cool, but I better get going now. See you next time." And I yeeted myself out there as fast as I could in heels. Boy, was I uncomfortable, but damn did I look fabulous. I told my friends who didn't take the class and told the 2 other girls who were my gym partners about it. It was a good laugh, but sheesh, the guy needs to go for someone his own age. After that, I would catch him staring at me too often and too long for comfort inside and out of class. It was an interesting day when he subbed for my German class, too. Ever since that incident in the gym, nothing else happened, thankfully. Some of you may have read all of that and thought, "Oh, that isn't that scary." Maybe not, but it's certainly scary that someone his age, mid to late 40s, would go for an 18-year-old student. So, Mr. Substitute, please, find a woman your age. Foxy Mulder, oh, that's a cool name, from X-Files, donates 1. Thank you very much, Foxy. Foxy Cleopatra. Clarissa, about to grab DD Cafe again. Dunkin' Donuts. I like the sound of that. Honestly, there's this one kind of like Mennonite store in town that makes everything like super organic and things of that nature. And they honestly have the best coffee in town. Now, for me, oh yeah, I'm not drinking. I'm just gargling. I get me talk. I've literally been talking for. Let's see how long the stream's been going for. I've been yapping away here for 2.5 hours straight. So I could use a bit of refreshment from time to time. But yeah, there's the Mennonite place has like this awesome assortment of coffees that you can choose from. Colombian, their type called Harvest, and all these awesome types. And something about it, I think it's just the aroma, because eventually coffee in and of itself is just this very hot, acidic chemical. Not chemical, I mean, it is edible, but it's a chemical in and of itself that it's caffeine. You want the caffeine, you want that mild sense of elation, inside of you. What the hell? Consistency is saying some naughty words, bro. Sorry, but anyways, you just want that sort of like excitement that you get from coffee. But it's always nice when you get a coffee that actually demonstrates itself as being something just oh so slightly different and enjoyable. So I definitely feel you on there. I need to get some coffee right now, but it's about going towards 7 o'clock here, and I will be up to the crack of darn if I do that. Shannon, thank you for your donation. Cashy had requested a story about le traveling. Let's see what we can do. Okay. For a bit of background, I am fairly fit 22-year-old female. I work for a pretty well-known health club in the northwest of England. I've been on a pretty simple path of self-improvement whilst working part-time and studying at university. Therefore, when my manager asked me if I wanted to do a lifeguard qualification for our poolside, I happily agreed. It was an all-expense-paid trip, so I would never have said no anyway. They paid for my travel, about an hour away from where I was living, but I drive anyway, so they just paid my petrol. The hotel, food, and the course, which was pretty cool, I thought. The way the course was set out was pretty normal for a lifeguard course, I assume. It was 3 days worth of training, 4 days off. I returned back to work, and then I would travel back again for 3 more days. On the third, graduating from the course and become a lifeguard. The first 3 days were amazing. I found my hotel pretty easily, and although it was in a dodgy-looking area, I did sleep well and staff were nothing but helpful. I was hoping to return to the same hotel for my last 3 days. However, the day before I was due to return to do my last 3 days, my manager told me that the hotel was fully booked. He quickly booked me another one, which was in the middle of the town center. I looked the hotel up, and the exterior was dodgy, but I thought I may as well give it a chance, as it was only for 2 nights. I went for my first day at lifeguard training as normal when one of the local guards told me the hotel I was about to stay at had no on-site parking. She also mentioned that all the surrounding car parks were only for short stays, a maximum of 2 hours, and it would be best to leave your car at the training center and she would take me to my hotel and pick me up in the morning to go to training. I thought this was very helpful, thanked her, and took her up on her offer. After finishing the day, I got into her car and she took me to my hotel. She also mentioned that she used to rent near this hotel, which was a small family-run business and not a chain. It had no room service nor kitchen, and therefore pointed me in the direction to Sainsbury's, McDonald's, and Subway. Perfect. Night 1 in the hotel. I walked into the hotel. The lobby seemed nice, although there was construction in all the surrounding rooms. The girl at the front desk, blonde hair, blue eyes, greeted me and began to check me in. She smiled and let me know that I had been upgraded, but she didn't know why. I didn't question it. I was happy to be in the executive suite. She'd walked me to my room, which was like a maze. I needed a special key card to get my set of rooms, the executive suites. This meant no random people could walk through the hallway near my room. I felt safe. Upon entering my room, I was amazed. I had never been in something so classy. The room was massive. On the left, there were stairs to the bathroom. Stairs? There was a balcony, a queen-size bed, a couch, TV with Netflix, and a table full of complimentary water, tea, and biscuits. I chilled for a bit and then suddenly realized how hungry I was and thought I should nip to Sainsbury before it got dark outside. All was good. On the way back from the shop was when it all started to get weird. I returned to the hotel and got to the door, which needed the special key to open the doors for the executive suites, and there was a man just stood outside, dressed in a suit. We looked at each other for a moment before I walked past and scanned the door open. I automatically regretted it. The man followed me through, very closely. Now, I'm a very nervous person. I panic at everything. It drives people crazy, and of course I panicked at this. I thought better safe than sorry and literally ran to my room. Maybe I look like a crazy person. However, I turned my head slightly to see what the man had actually kept up to me. Very well. I started to weep and opened my door extremely clumsily, threw myself in and slammed the door closed. The weirdest bit was that the man actually looked as though he was about to walk in the room. Weird. Now you're probably thinking, why didn't you call the front desk? Truth is, I don't know. Maybe I should have, but with how the story progresses, I know I had the right thing to do by not calling the front desk. I'll explain, don't worry. I eventually calmed myself down and thought about running myself a bath before Love Island started at 9 p.m. I ran the bath, stripped naked, and sat on the toilet to wee, graphic but relevant. I left the bathroom door wide open because I was in a nice hotel room, and why not? I had a very clear view of the front door. As I stand up to flush, I hear a noise, like the sound of the door opening. I look up to see that it has opened. I ran to the bathroom door and slam it shut and lock it. I sank to the floor and cried. I turned the bath off so I could listen closely to the room outside the door, but heard nothing. I messaged my best friend who lives in Crete, so even if something did happen, she would have been able to do anything about it. I don't even know why. I just thought there was no way this was actually happening, and if I called the police, I would just be laughed at. I sat on the floor for half an hour till my friend convinced me it was all in my head and to check. I let her know my hotel name and room number just in case and told her if I didn't reply in 5 minutes, no matter what, to call the police for me. She agreed and I left the bathroom. All looked normal. I checked under the bed, the balcony, wardrobe, etc., and everything was fine. No mass murderers. Although I tried to lock the front door with the manual lock that was normally on the hotel room doors and found that there wasn't one. This freaked me out a bit, but I laughed at myself, grabbed one of the 2 bottles of free water, downed it during Love Island, and fell asleep soundly. When I woke the next day, I got ready quickly because I overslept, grabbed the last bottle of water off the desk, and ran to meet the girl who was picking me up for training. I forgot all about the night's events. Last night at the hotel... Now, here's where shit gets weirder. I come back relatively early to revise for the assessment the next day. It was about 30 degrees outside and inside the unair-conditioned room, so I stripped to my underwear, noticed that none of the complimentary waters had been restocked, so I assumed maybe it was just the one-off, considering I didn't pay full price for the room. I revised for maybe 30 minutes, but the heat made me sleepy. I don't even remember falling asleep, but I do remember the sound of the door next to me slam shut. The front door. I felt groggy and didn't open my eyes straight away. When I did, it took my eyes a few seconds to adjust. I brushed it off quickly until I sat up straight. My eyes focused on the table, which were now full of complimentary water. It definitely was not there before. Next to me in bed, a random sock, black ankle sock that was not mine. One of my socks that I had put in a pair was no longer on the floor, but had gone missing altogether, like someone had taken off their own sock and put on mine. My mind automatically thought it had to be staff, and therefore I didn't complain to management. This was not a chain hotel where a creepy employee couldn't be held accountable, but a family-run business. What if I complained that what if I complained to the creep that had been doing this? I barricaded myself into the room and barely slept that night. Upon checkout, an elderly man was at the desk who I had never ever seen in passing. He asked if I liked my room. I tried to be polite and told him yes, despite the weird events which I began to question myself about again. He told me that my manager had rang the day before I arrived, and he decided to give me a quiet room to myself, which he likes to do for the younger girls. He then asked me to leave them a good review. I began to feel uneasy again, but had my lifeguard assessment that day to push it to the back of my mind. I passed with flying colors and drove home. It wasn't until I sat in my own bed that the situation hit me. Something wasn't sitting right with me, so I went to the hotel's TripAdvisor, something I should have done, or my manager should have done when sending a young girl alone at the start. 3 separate reviews. Out of the 4 reviews I bothered to read, before feeling too sick to continue, 3 contained a warning to women. Men were trying to get into the rooms, and staff would walk in unannounced. Even when they weren't confronted, the staff would deny it. Even when they were confronted, the staff would deny it. This was when I had not made what had happened up in my head. This is when I knew that I had not made what had happened up in my head. People or a person had been coming into my room. Whilst I slept, half naked, and stayed for an unknown period of time, stealing my clothing. It still sent chills down my spine just writing this now. I let my managers know, who have made a complaint against the company, but so far nothing has come back. I don't know what else to do about that situation. I can attach a screenshot of reviews if anyone is interested. Girls, women, and lone travelers, always read the reviews. Yikes. I wonder what was in that sock that he left behind. Thank you, Kashi, for that travel story. Up next, Queen Summer wants to hear a blooper reel. You'll hear a lot more yelling. On my back, I've been sitting in this chair. I bought like a standing desk thing, but my desk is such a cluttered shit mess that I've been too lazy to set it up, but that would be kind of cool. There was butter in that sock. Most likely butter. It's almost a guaranteed in this scenario. Guys, if you go anywhere, any hotels or places, I expect fully that if you consider yourself part of the butter sock, you will leave a sock with even a slight bit of butter behind for those good, hard-working people to appreciate. It's your calling card now, friends. You're one of us. No, please don't do that, actually. That'd probably make some people upset. They're like, what is in this? It smells like freaking mold and milk. Milky. Shelby wanted to hear one about a stalker. That's perfect, because so did I. Join the butter sock cult. A little backstory. I was fairly shy, thin, and very naive. I would talk to just about anyone who wanted to talk to me, no matter how creepy they were. I was into the online dating scene. I matched with someone who I was really interested in. We talked on the phone a lot and Skyped a few times because, people... Oh, I think I may have... Wrecking Retro, I uploaded to Let's Read Official on Reddit. Alright, perfect. I think I already read this story, so I apologize, guys. I was working at a grocery store for a few months when this happened. It was usually always pretty busy and always seen familiar faces, so it made this a lot harder for me to identify this person if I have ever seen them before or not, or possibly worked with whoever this person was, leaving notes on my car, such as, "You're a beautiful girl, hope you're single," or "Can't wait to see you again." Even had flowers one time on top of my car with a "thinking of you" card. I was becoming annoyed with it, and I had mentioned it to one of the girls I worked with, and even the security guard more so caused two coworkers told me a guy would ask for me, and they kind of just brushed him off with a quick "she's not here" because they were busy, so already it was bad enough. I didn't have a face or a name, and we didn't have cameras in the parking lot, and it didn't help the ones were only near the door, and we employees had to park in the back so customers have front parking. Eye roll. I mentioned to my mom how it was bothering me. Not long after, one afternoon, coming home from the gas station, we saw flowers were on the door of the house. Same kind of bouquet from the car. I was really bothered by it because I wasn't dating anyone at the time. I believe same that week I woke up and had a creepy feeling. It was dark in my room. A little light was on from my TV that I never leave on. Guess I was that tired. My brother knocked on my door. As I got up to open my door, I noticed my window was cracked open so the screen was letting air in, which also never do, thanks Mom coming in my room to do so after turning off the AC in the house. I had a creepy, odd feeling, and then my brother asked, "Hey, do you have anyone here this late?" I confusingly replied, "No, why?" I could tell he was angry, and he told me someone was at the door asking for me, and we both walked to the door and no one was there. What made it more creepy was that there was a helicopter hovering around looking for someone nearby. My brother said someone knocked on the screen door, and he looked, and they asked for me by name and told them what the hell do they want. It's past midnight, and I guess it was enough to scare them off. We called police trying to make a police report because I became afraid of my safety, but of course cops couldn't do much about it. No sleep for me that night. Anyone that knew where I lived, any of my family members, would have easily recognized, so for that person to be asking for me and my brother to not recognize them at all made it more creepy. Luckily this was years ago. I quit my job soon after and had no problem since. So to the person staying invisible to me, I hope you never stop by again. My voice has BD energy, baby. That's what I'm talking about. BD and 3D. Yeah, sorry, the grammar was a little all over the place with that one, so. Oh. Lit Pickles says, "Can you do a legendary, which is $100? What is a legendary story to you, would you say? We do have epics. Oh, man. Legendary story. Oh, yeah. CB Thomas with the $1.99. Thank you, CB. That's a cool profile picture you got there. Did you draw that yourself? Oh, it looks like it's... But yeah, thank you. Everybody's sexually confused in chat. Well, let's get it together, chat, okay? We're going to get focused. We're going to figure out what we prefer in life, and we're going to stick to it. All right? It's okay. I'm here to confuse you. Forever Calm with the 35 smackaronis. Your streams are the best. Could we get a paranormal story? Absolutely. Forever Calm. Do you guys have favorite ASMR channels? I remember we were talking about that a little bit. You're amazing. Do you like SpongeBob? I love SpongeBob, man. That was like one of the first shows that really took things. I mean, it wasn't the first show to take things to that weird level. I mean, I guess you had Ren and Stimpy and Rocko's Modern Life and stuff, but it definitely came out at a perfect time. Wrecking Retro. I'm gonna go to your story here, Shelby. Thank you so much for your donation request. I hope I'm not skipping there. I sometimes kind of mix things up a little bit. Sass ASMR. I wonder what Sass is all about. Do you guys like Ephemeral Rift? The only ASMR I listen to is Let's Read and Mr. Nightmare. I like that. I like the sound of that. Mr. Nightmare. Mr. Nightmare. Retro. Reddit. Alright. Let us venture over there to my subreddit, reddit.com/r/Let's Read Official, where you can submit all your amazing stories. And I most likely will read them in a subscriber story time or here on the stream like right now. Okay. Okay, perfect. From Wrecking Retro, my story of the woman in blue. Since I was young, I've been haunted or protected by someone or something. I have come to call the lady in blue. I've come to call her the lady in blue. I have had encounters with her at a few points throughout my life. First time I encountered her, I was very young at age 8. That day I had a friend come to play at my house, and come nightfall, my friend had just left, so I went to go play in our family room. Whilst walking through one of the windows in the room, I spotted a woman wearing a bright dress in complete contrast to the dark night sky. My parents had to drag me away from the window because I was practically hypnotized by her. Use of her eyes were just as blue as her dress, and I stood there for just over half an hour. My second encounter with this woman was on my way home from school one day at age 11. As I forgot about her until that moment, I walked up my driveway and spotted her peeking around the wall at the back of my house. Assuming she was an intruder, I ran behind the house, and she was floating with a look of shock on her face that haunted me for years to come. After much counseling, I was made to believe that I was just hallucinating this. This was around age 14. Again, walking home from school, I get to the door of my house, looking into the window before entering the house, as was my routine. And sadly enough, the second I looked into the house, I unraveled 3 years' worth of counseling. I watched the woman shoot from room to room, not as if though she was walking, she was levitating. I was dead set on believing in spirits. Age 16, I was given permission to buy my own motorcycle. I practically lived on it for months, but once again my joy was short-lived after years of trying to forget about them incidents out of nowhere whilst driving at night. I see the brightest light I had ever seen. Knowing exactly what I'm about to say, I get prepared to face my biggest fear. I park my bike at the side of the road and I begin to walk towards her. She's watching me. The whole way, I get about 10 feet away from her and I ask in the most gentle voice, "Why do you follow me?" At this point, I didn't know what to think. I stood there for about 30 seconds. After asking the question in the middle of a forest, pitch black, apart from the light that was emanating from her. Apparently I asked the right question at this point. I didn't know what to think. I stood there for about 30 seconds after asking the question in the middle of a forest, pitch black apart from the light that was emanating from her. Apparently I asked the right question, but I got the wrong answer. She says to me, "Because there are more." Before fading away, upon realizing I was in the middle of a completely barren forest, I ran back to my motorcycle, speeding away, and that was my last encounter with her. It has been over 4 years now with no encounters, so I'm proudly due one by now. Thank you for reading and goodbye. This encounter took place in a small wood town called Woodhouses in Manchester, UK. Cool. That sounds very creepy. I've been very fortunate not to have any very many paranormal sort of experiences, but I mean to hear it from us, directly from you guys, especially kind of this connection here on the stream, sort of almost like knowing somebody who's had it happen to them, and I definitely trust that it's occurred to you. It's very scary. And what do you think she meant by "because there are more"? What do you got? What does chat think here? Maybe we can help him out to decipher. He asked, "Why do you follow me?" And she says, "Because there are more." I don't know what that means. I'm not even sure. Because there are more encounters to come, or because there are... Maybe she's protecting you, or... Yeah, maybe she's warding off bad spirits. Maybe there's more than just her around, and she is trying to assist with that. So, more socks with butter. That could be a possibility too. But yeah, thank you, Retro. I appreciate that. Sony has left me here with a choice to make for this. Oh. Wrecking Ball with the 199. Thank you. Yeah, you bet, man. It's a really interesting story, honestly. Okay, so earlier, a particular individual who goes by Tim Sonsky, who is written a lot of creepypastas for Unit 522, if you guys are familiar. Written some creepypastas for Unit and various other, done some editing for him and stuff like that. He was also going to help me with some content as well, as and wanted to share his creepypastas. So I think maybe, I could possibly read some of his as my choice for Sony, and see what he's got here. He was known for, on Unit's channel, writing the Reiki versus Dogman stories, if you guys are familiar with that. Okay. So let's see. Let's go here. Oh boy, that's a long one. Quite long. Do. This looks interesting. Beware the Culling by Tim Sonsky. Let's see if we can get into this one. Original stories. I'll probably have to look it up here because I can't seem to find the link. Tim Sonsky. CB Thomas says, how do you feel about H.P. Lovecraft? I love H.P. Lovecraft, honestly. Like, he created a universe that focuses around understanding beings, interdimensional beings that have been around for countless ages, beyond time immemorial, who just their mere existence in front of you, their size, their scope, their presence, drives a man to babbling insanity. You know what I mean? Like, that in itself, I think, encompasses fear at its fullest point. But at the same time, he creates a universe that leaves it so mysterious to the reader that it's almost impossible for for your mind not to go places where he wants it to go. Fear in a lot of itself, as he's famous for saying, the greatest sense of fear is like fear of the unknown. And he really had created almost an outline of an existence of creatures and lore that all kind of blends together, but it's never a happy ending. It's at the end of the day, he looks at humans, and it's kind of the dawn. It's sort of the dawn of time where things have in science, I guess, around like the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century, where evolution was becoming more popular, nihilism was becoming more popular. The idea that we live in an existence that doesn't necessarily require an all-seeing, almighty God to help you sleep at night, but more the concept that the earth has been around for millions, billions of years, and there isn't something that's going to save you from a colossal interdimensional being who's, the second they manifest themselves into your reality, creates, another cycle of imminent destruction. And to me, H.P. Lovecraft has almost created such a strong new perspective towards horror writers and their ability to really sink in to that primeval, or the, I guess, primordial or ancient fear that you have in your gut, and that's fear of your survival, fear of maintaining your sanity. And you definitely can feel, if you exist, if you kind of create that suspension of disbelief to exist within these worlds, you as a reader can definitely feel the sense of sanity begin to leave from you. And you can see it. What's really cool is you can see his influence on so many other horror creators as time has gone on. And I feel very bad for the guy, because he has done so much for movies and games and literature and influenced so many individuals, yet he barely ever saw a penny for even some of his classic works. I think you should really look up. There's some awesome documentaries on YouTube about H.P. Lovecraft, and if you guys are into that stuff and you want to learn something from people who admired him and famous individuals, and just how to write horror, check out H.P. Lovecraft. He is the grandfather of that for certain. Thank you, C.B. Thomas, for that. I can go on quite a tangent about him. Kashi with a Tenzer. I am sorry your fan base is so thirsty, myself included. Thank you so much for doing a long stream like this for us and constantly interacting with us. Love your voice and your channel. Thank you, Kashi, for hanging out. I honestly love these reading streams because it gives me time to interact with you guys, whereas I could do gaming streams, and I do hope to eventually get back to that because I got Monster Hunter and I'm having a good time with that. But it kind of people were kind of turned off by it a little bit, I think, and that's sort of unfortunate because sometimes you just want to chill and play some games, but at the same time, I love sitting here and reading with you guys and being able to read almost every comment that goes by my chat box there and interact with you. You guys, I'm sitting, it's weird when you think about it. I'm sitting in this room by myself talking to a screen of words. It's to a someone from maybe H.P. Lovecraft's time. He might see that as borderline insanity. Maybe we've reached a level of societal insanity to a certain extent. But I do hope to get back to the gaming streams here soon, but I do love these as well. Burger King foot lettuce from Joe Petty. Thank you, Joe. Lit Pickle says, I want to learn by you, your spooky, scary teacher. I appreciate it. Someone asked, would I consider myself a meme king? I definitely have quite a collection. Celine Ruiz, I have to go, but thank you for making my day. Hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. I'm still searching for this story. Maybe he doesn't have the text quite available, at least. He has an Amazon page where he sells The Reiki versus Dogman and Tinsonsky, The Devil's Picnic. So if you guys want to check that out, it's Tim, Tim, Sonski. Tim Sonsky. I guess he's got some stuff up on Amazon Kindle if you guys want to check that out. But since we're unable to find that story, I still would love to do a choice for Sony PlayStation. Let's see. Also, how can you guys hear this? Do you ever want to chop off your own limb like I don't want this anymore? I don't think so. I like having my limbs. I guess it depends on which one you're talking about. Because I would hate to go a day without any of them. They are kind of my best friends. It's been 7 years since this happened, and it still makes my blood run cold. I went to college at Penn State. If you know anything about Central PA, there isn't much to do around there, so I decided to do both my sophomore and junior year in Italy. My grandpa had recently passed away, and so I decided to go back and stay at our childhood home. Our house in Italy is in a small town outside of Milan. I was going to Catholic University at the time, and it was an easy train ride into the city. Our house was built in the late 1600s, so it's pretty old. It has been in our family for generations, and if you know anything about Italy, those generations were born and later died in that house. Needless to say, we've always had pretty strange occurrences happening there. Things have always been moved from where we left them. Strange footsteps at night. Lights would turn on. The TV sometimes goes off at full volume when it's clearly turned up. Goes on at full volume when it's clearly turned off. My grandmother was a very devout Catholic person and would often pray at night in a little chapel she had made in the back of the house. She claimed this helped calm the spirits down. Our house, being as old as it is, has seen its fair share of death, from revolutions to plague outbreaks to my grandparents helping Holocaust victims during World War II. In any case, let's go back to the present day. I moved back in August of 2010. My parents now live in the States, so it was just me staying there with our groundskeeper, who lives in the chapel and apartment. As soon as I got settled, strange noises started happening. I would hear sounds like someone was agonizing. Some nights there was the shuffling of feet, as if someone was chained and slowly moving through the hallways. I was accustomed to this and ignored it most of the time. Around November, I started feeling this presence in the house, like someone was watching me. I attributed this to my grandparents looking after me. We were very close and still missed them. Things started getting much darker the first night I brought a guy home, however. I was 20 years old and figuring myself out. At the time, no one in my family knew I was gay, though they may have suspected it. Anyway, I bring this guy home, Stefano. He was 25 and was studying to be a dentist. I had invited him over for dinner, and he was very surprised I had a house to myself, since most people live with their parents well into adulthood. I was at that time trying very hard to impress him. As soon as he walked in, he mentioned that he felt like something was pushing him down. I told him a bit of the history of the house, and he seemed to ease up a bit. As I was getting dinner ready, Stefano decided to look through the rest of the house. He hadn't been upstairs 2 minutes when I heard a loud crash. I obviously ran up and found this 25-year-old man crouching in the corner of the hallway, saying he saw 3 dark shadows lunge at him. As I am trying to calm him down, I heard a loud crash in the kitchen. The stove had busted and there was a fire coming out of it. I hurried over to our groundskeeper and had him help me put out the fire. When he was done, he gave Stefano a disapproving look and left, so my romantic night was pretty much ruined at this point. The next few weeks I was very unsettled in the house. Things started happening more often. I wasn't able to sleep. Every time I laid down to sleep, I would feel someone get in bed with me and strange whispers in my ear. I also felt like someone was watching me. Eventually, one night before Christmas, I woke up around 3:15 a.m. I casually rolled over and noticed out of the corner of my eye a shadow peering in at me from my window. This continued pretty much every night. I assumed it was a spirit, said a prayer, and tried my best to ignore it. The day after Christmas, I decided to go down to the coffee bar and chat up with Giuseppe, who was a close family friend and the owner of the bar. As I'm doing this, a man comes up to us and starts conversation with me. Naive as I am at 20, I didn't realize until later that he was hitting on me. If you've ever been to Italy, you'll know it's tough to know who may or may not be gay. In any case, this man, whose name is Ale, asked me to join him for New Year's. I have no plans, and being away from family accepted. He tells me he will pick me up since he lives in the center of Milan. New Year's Eve rolls around, and LA comes to pick me up right at the time he had described. I found this to be somewhat unusual since Italians are never on time to anything. We like to be fashionably late, always. As soon as we get to his apartment in Milan, I suddenly got a bad feeling. I decided this was due to me being not quite comfortable with myself, specifically in a setting like this, and tried to shake it off. Ale's apartment was beautiful. He told me he was a lawyer and did photography on the side. He proceeded to show me some of his pictures. It started to get pretty late, and I thought it was weird that no one else was coming to his party. He then tells me it'll just be the two of us tonight. At this point, I'm about 3 glasses of wine in. I don't usually drink, and I was feeling myself. I got a red flag and excused myself to the bathroom. He mentioned I could use the bathroom in his room since it was cleaner, and that he would be in the kitchen working on dinner. As I headed towards his room, I accidentally went into the very last room at the end of the hallway, thinking I was in the right place. It was a dark room, and I remember he mentioned he developed his pictures there. Let's be real. I had never seen a dark room, and being nosy, decided to take a quick peek. It was at this point that my blood ran cold, and I was quick to sober up. I noticed he had a small box on the floor next to the lamp full of pictures. I randomly picked one up and noticed it was a picture of me. At this point, I am looking through the box and realize they are all pictures of me, sleeping. I am freaking out at this point, but try to play it casual, thinking of a way I could get outside. I am saying a million prayers and invoking every saint in the book. I went back into the kitchen, bladder still full of wine, and he immediately senses something is wrong and asks me why I look shaken up. I blamed it on the wine and tell him I'm not used to drinking. He doesn't buy it. He tells me to go lay down in the bedroom and that he would be in momentarily. I notice he had become more forceful as well. I tell him I will go to the living room to get my bag and then go lay down. At this point, I go into the living room, quickly grab my bag, and busted out the door. I ran all the way down the stairs and into the fresh, cold air. At this point, I hear him angrily running down the stairs telling me to come back. I remember running all the way to the nearest metro station, about 5 blocks. Once I'm on the train, I call my friend and asked if I could come over. Of course, she says yes. I explained everything that had happened to her and her parents, who then proceeded to call the cops. The cops go to the house I had just been in, and Ale is nowhere to be found. They told me this house belonged to an older lady who had passed away a few months ago. She didn't have any relatives, and so the house was in the process of being taken by the city. Of course, that paperwork takes several months. They found pictures of me in the dark room along some other very disturbing pictures. They told me some of the pictures they found were of men who were bound and gagged and later mutilated. They also found some kiddie porn. The most disturbing thing of all was that the men who were photographed in bondage and then mutilated also had several pictures taken of them sleeping in their homes. It still makes my blood run cold, thinking he is out there somewhere, maybe waiting to come get me. The police never found them. I didn't have any pictures of him, and they only had my description to go by. I stayed with my friend for a couple of weeks and decided to return to Pennsylvania after the holidays. Speaking with my mom last night, she told me that there were several gay Holocaust victims that my grandmother helped during World War II. She hid them in our house, one of them her brother. I never knew that my great-uncle had been gay. She told me those disturbances I felt and the shadows Stefano had seen were probably them trying to warn me of something more sinister happening. I believe this to be true because, as annoyed as I was at the noises, they didn't feel threatening, at least not towards me. Holy shit. That's a pretty fucked up story. And it's interesting because it's like it covered a gamut of like paranormal shit and true shit. So that's pretty awesome. Oh, does anyone remember what video was the story about the local TV station and the creepy guy who wanted kids to go in the basement? I can't remember. Was that 1999? That was a popular one. Thank you, Sony. Yeah, thank you, Sony, for the donation. Forever Calm had requested a paranormal one here. And this might be possibly our last story of the night. But I appreciate you guys donoing and pulling me through here. Why did I stop my creepypasta uploads? As soon as I went to True Scary Stories, creepypastas, whenever I would do them again, they just didn't do as well, and the True Scary Stories is kind of like what got me to where I was, so it was sort of like a decision of, kind of ebbing and flowing with that success there, and that's kind of like where I found my niche, I suppose. Okay. So I deleted a lot of videos back when I had gotten some copyright strikes from people, and I'd gone over this in the video before, but it was really weird. It was like they all came at one time, and I was able to talk to the people that gave them to me, and they were actually very apologetic about it, but just to avoid, running a risk with anything, I had deleted a lot of videos that I was just uncertain about permissions and things like that, and now I am able to get, I have somebody from my Discord, which, if you guys want to link the Discord, I can actually link the Discord here in a bit, but Spooky Whispering, who's sometimes in the chat here, she gets permission from me and stuff like that from people from Let's Not Meet, Paranormal, all over the place, which is really great because it just keeps like consistent content flowing for you guys, and obviously that's like the number one goal here, to be able to just keep that coming out for you, and you guys have content to choose from. Sounds like I drink a hot glass of honey before I do my streams. I might. That sounds like a good idea. Before I write down some stories, it might be helpful to tell more about my background. I'm a 23-year-old boy whose family moved during the Yugoslavian War in 1999 from eastern Serbia to Switzerland. We used to live in a small village across the Danube at the Bulgarian and Romanian border, a region that has a very colorful history. Many bloody historic events occurred on their soil we lived. Roman emperors used to rule this area, as well as many historic figures such as Attila the Hun, Alexander the Great, or Lord Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, were all once residing here and fighting battles. The region has been occupied many times. The longest used to be under the Ottomans. This occupation lasted for almost 3 centuries. After the Ottoman occupation, the country didn't have much time to recover, and the First and Second World War struck the country already. Many people died during the First World War, 1/3 of the population. As a result, guerrilla groups, setniks, partisans, etc. were formed, killing even more people. In conclusion, many people were unjustifiably tortured and lost their lives, which is probably why there are many occurrences with the paranormal. Magic is very common here. The so-called Vlach magic or Vlasky magija is Valachian is said to be one of the strongest in the world, and many people tend to practice it and religiously believe in it. As a result, there are many stories about paranormal events. One of my favorite ones was a story my grandfather told me. He grew up in the forest in a small old house about 300 years old. He was adopted by my great-great-grandfather, who used to be a leader in one of the great-grandfather used to be a leader in one of the resistant movements against the socialist regime after the Second World War. He fought in both world wars, and even with all of this, he took great care of my grandfather and loved him as if though he was his own child. 50 years passed since he left his home, and all of the people living here died, but my grandpa still visits this house and stays overnight here. This place creeps me out. Even during the day, there's an aura to this place that just makes it uncomfortable to be here. I can't imagine staying here overnight, but he frequently does, and one day he told me a very weird story. While he stays there, he gets often visited. At first I thought visit like the ones you get from neighbors or something, but he told me that one night he woke up to a hand crawling on his head. It was a huge white pale man kneeling next to him and crawling his head, speaking with a calm voice in Vlasky, the dying language that we used to speak here, mix of Moldavian and Romanian. He told me that his skin was white and that it was glowing in the night. He didn't have any hair, and his hand felt very soft. My grandfather always respected the dead and was never really afraid. He told me he didn't really speak to him, but just enjoyed his company, since he knew in some way that he wasn't evil. Another time he told me that he used to fix small parts around the house. When it started to get dark, he slowly began getting ready to leave with his tractor because it takes like an hour to ride to the next civilized place. While putting stuff back into the barn, he heard loud noises in the attic. It didn't bother him until even a plank was thrown down the stairs. He recalled one time they even threw down a rock into the wheelbarrow that he was pushing into the barn. He told me he just turned around, locked the barn, and didn't even frown. They expect you to react. Don't give them this pleasure, is what he told me while laughing. This makes them go crazy. Growing up, I heard a lot of these stories, and it really runs in our family, experiencing from time to time such encounters. The most scary thing that happened to me occurred during the summer of 2009. My grandfather told me during this summer break, as usual stories from the past, how he used to walk these woods alone in the dark and what he experienced while doing so. And since I was in my teen years, I started to question the reliability of his stories. From time to time, I took out my old motorcycle and drove out into the forest. Driving around was the only time I could really think about stuff and, be in this type of state that you question everything and think about the world. So one day I took out my bike and decided to drive around. I still don't know why or how, but somehow I find myself driving to the old house he grew up in. I didn't really bother to question why my intention was to drive there, so I just kept going. I always believe that I am a kid, pure by heart, and no evil can do me harm. While I was driving out, I thought about the possibilities of actually encountering a vampire. I lived, as mentioned, in East Serbia, where vampires are widely believed in. My grandpa always told me not to go past dawn, but I didn't really care, so I still keep going. Remembering back, I thought that his intentions were to keep me scared and not get lost in the woods, but being a teenager at the time, I thought I was invincible, and in fact, even if a vampire would cross my path, that I would by ease pass him with no harm. There aren't really streets there. It's just a dirt road between trees that lead to what seems nothing. After an hour, even the dirt roads started to vanish. While I was driving and thinking about how strong I am, I noticed that my hand felt very wet. I thought it was because I was sweating, since this region can get very hot. After taking a look at my hand, I saw that there was blood all over my hand. I thought it might be a bug that I had squished, but it was just too much blood, so I started to look for wounds. But my hand seemed perfectly fine. My heart slowly started racing, and I took a sharp turn and drove back home. I remember this to be the moment that I was most scared in my life. I had the urge to look behind every second, and I was driving through the forest. It seemed like someone was sitting behind me and just waiting for me to fall down. After arriving home and telling my grandpa, he just started laughing and told me not to question their abilities again. I have a ton of stories regarding these events. Also, we have a few witches in our family that used to practice Vlach magic that was taught to them by their ancestors. If you would like to know anything specific or weird ritual or more stories, just let me know, and I'll write them down. Jen Child, with $24.99. Thank you, Jen, says, still thinking of a story. All right. All right. What story should I read for thee? I do not know. I am going to grab water in the meantime while you think of it. If Cassie, you could just like at me, or Jen, you could at me. Oh, you want to hear me pick one? Okay. Yes. I'm going to grab water, and then I will be back to read you a little story. Water is not a story. Okay. Mastery says, I dislike men children. Well, it's too late, Mastery. You've got one in me here. Okay, Jenny, Jennifer, Jim. We're gonna read you a story here. Excusez-moi. Queen Summer says, for my first video, I want to read a creepypasta. You get to pick it, let's read. What should it be? Choose wisely. That's a good question. What's a good one? Maybe you could read... what is it? Dave the Murderer. What is that one? Jake the Murderer? Or... You want a real story? Alright, Jen, you're gonna get a real story here. Prepare yourself. Yeah, you gotta read Dave the Murderer. Oh, Jeff the Killer. Dave the Murderer, his closest friend. It was the fall of 2007, and I was 15, living in New York. I was a competitive athlete in high school, the type who got up before school for workouts and trained for long hours after. With recruiting season a year away, I was under tremendous pressure to perform in my sport, as well as in the classroom. I was struggling to keep up in calculus at the time, so my mom suggested I get a tutor. She made an appointment with a teacher friend of hers who really knew his stuff. I've been going to him regularly, probably 3 times a week for a month, before I met Alex. Alex had the tutoring session after mine, and we'd cross paths every week. It had never been more than a glance and a smile, and as I was incredibly shy and terrified of boys. He was tall and blond with piercing blue eyes, so naturally I thought he was cute. One day my tutor had to change his schedule and decided to book us together, as we were learning the same topics in calc. I was shocked and delighted when Alex started chatting with me afterwards and asked for my phone number. I had never had a boy pay attention to me in that way, and I was flattered that someone that cute wanted my number. Eventually, Alex and I began dating. Alex went to Catholic school in another town, but because he lived in the same town as I did, he took the bus every morning from my school to his. This gave us mornings together, and he was able to meet my friends. I was a little taken aback when they didn't take to him like I did. They mentioned him seeming weird, and I got super defensive, but let it go. I realized that I had been spending less time with them than I normally did, and assumed they were jealous that I had a boyfriend. As time went on, things got more serious. We started experimenting sexually, and eventually I lost my virginity to him in the back of his Ford Escape. That's when things began to change. While Alex and I always talked regularly, he started getting over the top about staying in contact with me. He would make me stay on the phone with him all hours of the night, until eventually my mom started taking my phone before I went to sleep. The relationship also started taking a toll on my athletic career. I was too tired to spend my extra time training and started skipping my practices to see him, driving 30 minutes each way to his school. Eventually, my friends sat me down and told me how unhealthy this relationship had become. I had isolated myself from them, and my entire free time was spent with him. At this point, I wanted so badly to end the relationship. I had fallen out of love with Alex, and college applications were approaching. I had been scouted by no less than 10 colleges, and my plan was to attend Brown, my dream school. Alex's obsession with our relationship had taken a huge toll on his grades, and Brown wasn't going to be an option for him. I remember when I told him that was where I was planning on going, he freaked out, saying he would never get in there and begging me not to go. At the time, I was also recruited by the University of Illinois. Alex applied there in hopes I would ditch Brown and go to Illinois with him. That was the final straw for me. I ended things for good with Alex, assuming that would be it. Because Alex would take the bus from my school to his every morning, I still had to see him. I remember walking into school past him and his classmates who took the bus with him, and some of his guy friends yelled slut and whore at me. Apparently, he had spread a rumor that I had cheated on him with a bunch of guys and then ended it with him. I ignored it until I started getting Facebook messages from random people at his school. I spent months getting nasty messages from guys at his school, accusing me of having STDs and telling me I was going to get gangbanged by his friends. Eventually, I had to delete my Facebook because it wouldn't stop. I think deleting my Facebook was what set off the stalker tendencies for Alex. He wasn't able to see my face online, so he started calling non-stop and sending desperate AIM messages telling me he loved me. While this was going on, I was the favorite to win the high school championship in my sport. I had gone undefeated all season. Alex ended up showing up while I was competing for the championship, and I saw him there. It shook me so badly I ended up losing the title. I was furious and heartbroken. I ended up picking up his call that came that night and screamed at him, telling him never to contact me again. And that's when the threats began. I got a call a few nights later from Alex, and he texted me he had something important to tell me. Stupidly, I answered. He began to tell me how he was going to kill me. He was going to show up at my house when my parents were at work with a rope and knife and make me suffer like I'd done to him. I started to cry, and he eventually went on to say that he was going to get me before I went into school because he knew exactly where I parked every morning, and my parents were never going to find me. At this point, I had decided to record what was being said and had it taped on my phone. I hung up once I felt he'd said enough. The next morning, I went into school extra early, much earlier than I figured he'd be there. I showed my advisor the recording, who then called my mom. I remember feeling a deep-rooted shame as my mom listened to the recording, like I had done something to bring this on myself. My advisor was so alarmed by the recording he advised me to go to the police. This day still feels surreal to me. My mom and I sat in the police station all day explaining the story of my relationship with Alex and how it got to this point. The police then drove to his high school and arrested him while he was in class. The topper on this day, though, was when I went out to bring food back to the police station for my mom and I pulled into the station at the same time as the car holding Alex did. I saw him in cuffs, and he indeed looked like he wanted to kill me. Post-arrest, I got a restraining order against Alex, and he was sent to a mental institution for a short while. He ended up breaking the RO on more than one occasion. I contacted the police, but they didn't think it was cause to do anything. I think it's important to note that Alex's family was wealthy and had a name in the area, so it wouldn't have surprised me if that's why they brushed it under the rug. I ended up attending Brown and had to inform them of the restraining order and let them know that Alex should not be allowed on campus. It's been over 10 years since this all happened, and I still continue to receive friend requests and phone calls from him on occasion. I recently moved across the country from where this occurred. I finally feel safe now that I am far away from where he lives, but anytime I get a block call or text from a number I don't know, a thought goes through my head that it's him. It's safe to say this experience has completely changed who I let into my life and who I choose to date. Do I do grugs? I don't do grugs. Grugs are bad, okay? Alright, guys, it's about 8 o'clock about going on here, and I have to ship off. I have to ship off to a prior engagement. Time has really flown by. How long did this stream go for? We're going on 4 hours on this stream here, so that's nuts. Nutso butso. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you to everyone who donated. That was incredibly generous, and you truly helped me out, especially as the channel kind of goes through a hard time here. I'm going back to my Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. I've changed that on the banner. I don't know if that matters or not or anything. You'll see, hopefully, notifications. You'll see notifications there for when videos will come out. But yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I hope to make them longer now, so that'll be sweet. Probably, so you actually end up getting more content. You know, if they're closer to an hour, you'll probably get close to 3 hours of content a week, which is better than there's just the 2 hours I was doing with 4 videos that were each like a half hour. So, yeah. Good times, guys. Just down in the description here, thank you guys to everyone who supported. All streams that we're on here will be, once they go up after this ends, they'll be set to unlisted, as you can do with YouTube videos, and then they will be placed on the streams playlist. So if you want to go back and watch the stream, just check the date, make sure you got the right one. I believe I changed the coloration on the thumbnail on this one, so it's a little bit more purple and less like the other thumbnails, but you can go back and watch the old streams there. If you guys want early access to all future narrations, like right now for tomorrow's video, it's already up on Patreon. The full 50 minutes of audio is there, and you can have access to that. To every piece of narration that goes up is going to be on early access there. You can submit stories to the reddit.com, so my subreddit, which is our Let's Read official, or you can submit them to Let's Read submissions at gmail.com. All those links are in the description here, as well as if you want to participate in all the other communities as well. Those are awesome if you want to post your stories to both and get a lot of feedback there. Guys, if you want to pick up some merch, rock that at your next family gathering or starting up school, and you want to show off your Let's Read love, go to shop.spreadshirt.com/Let's Read, and you can get that there. It really helps everything. If you want to find out when all the new live streams will be going down, I post about it on social media. My Twitter is Let's Read Creepy, and my Instagram is Let's Read Official, and you can also see all the stupid shit that I post on there most of the time. So, much love to you guys. Thank you for hanging out, and yeah, we'll see you again soon.